how's your day? We can like mini start because I'm already recording and we're just shooting the shit. So yeah, how's your day? How's life?
I've got mine set up and I've got my stream on Kick, so I've
Oh,
got my side in case you ever need it.
perfect. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I'm all right. It's 7 p.m. here, so my day's almost over.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so say more. I'm always so curious. Say more about all right. Like, is that good? Is that a current state? Is that is good better? Is all right good for you?
I feel like all right's probably between like okay and good. It's like one of them.
Okay. So what is contributing to that? What would potentially make it better?
There's a number of factors for me at the moment
Okay.
because unfortunately tomorrow I'm going to a funeral.
Oh,
So,
goodness. I'm so sorry, dude.
they're never as I mean, I don't think anybody said a funeral is fun. So,
No.
yeah, they're not fun. So that's obviously just you back of the mind, but and then yeah, just got a busy weekend that I've just been running about trying to organize myself for, but yeah. I think that just makes it all right, not quite good, you know.
Okay, that's fair. Do you mind me asking how, like, when this person passed? Because there's one thing I noticed in chat yesterday, and it is everyone in their mom is having someone pass. Like, whether it's someone's uncle, an uncle's friend, like a relative, like everyone seems to be going through this right now.
I kind of feel the same way. Like I said this so it would be about 3 weeks ago now, when they passed. But yeah, I said at the time, I said it I straight away. So it was my best friend's dad passed away.
Oh, goodness.
But very, very suddenly, like really traumatically. It's been horrible, really. But I just like as soon as I got off the phone with her, I phoned my dad straight away, obviously, as you probably would. And I said to him, I was like, Dad, death is everywhere right now. And he's like, that's life. And I'm going, no, that's death. But I'm like,
that's awesome.
But I've never been so aware of it until now. And I don't know what it is. It is everywhere. Like, I feel the same way. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on.
Has that changed how recent have you been feeling that? Was it this death that brought that on? Was there some noticing of that up to that point? Like, how long has death been on your mind, I guess?
I would say it's probably been on my mind a little bit. So I've been quite lucky in my family when it comes to bereavements, but we lost our first, or like my grand passed away early last year, and that was like our first kind of close death. Like I've experienced it in other ways, but that was the first close one to me. So I feel like that kind of kicked it off. But then on top of that, like kind of family health, like kind of problems being here, there, and everywhere, and you just all of a sudden realize that, you know, this is happening. And then I lost a pet last year as well.
Oh, dude.
And just like you said, like people constantly just feeling that people are losing people, and it's just all like as you start noticing it. And I don't know if that's because I lost my gran and now I notice it, but you know, my best friend's dad passing away was very, very like that hit home a little bit. I was just like, what? Like, that can't be happening. I don't know. It freaked me out a little bit. I don't know. I can't even put it into words. Like, you can tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like my age, you know, like that's your dad. Like, that's not meant to happen. You know, we're young. Like, you don't lose your dad so young, but obviously people do.
Yeah. So
that's weird.
Keep saying words. Yeah. So it seems like a part of that, especially in your best friend's dad passing, was kind of your connection with your own dad. Did that bring up some stuff there? Is he like, do you mind me asking, is he towards that age where you have to be worried? Was it, because I also know you mentioned that other death was out of nowhere, which almost makes it worse because yeah, of course, grandparents, it's always going to be sad when they pass, no matter how quote unquote prepared or expected it was. It's still awful. But I can imagine, especially with you saying that it was so sudden and so traumatic and shocking, that maybe brought some stuff up for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely did, because it was quite a traumatic thing for me because of the way they pass as well. Like, and
Mm.
she's literally the closest person to me. When it comes to my life, I don't have a big supportive network. And like my dad's kind of the other closest person to me.
Mm,
Uh,
okay.
so for that to happen, like obviously her dad to pass away, it made me freak out, because I'm going like, if my friends like this, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, if I lost my dad, like who have I've got two people here. These are the two most important people in my life, basically, my best friend and my dad. Um,
Wow.
and that, it just like that, I think, was what hit me, and I was like, oh my god, my dad, like, her dad, her, and just it just kept going round and round. But my dad, he about 2 years ago had a heart attack. So,
Oh,
and I
wow.
remember that being like a big wake up call of going, you're not invincible, like you're
Yeah.
not immortal, like, and it did it to him as well. But he's not old. He is just turned 50.
Holy
So
shiz.
he's not old. And then but that made me think, I'm going, but what is old? You're not even guaranteed
Yeah.
old, you know? So, um, yeah, I feel like a lot of things in the last wee while have made me closer to my dad in a way. But I feel like even
Mm.
that, like, as soon as I ended that phone call with her, because it was random, she just phoned me when I've got bad news, and your gut goes, and you're like, oh my god, what is it? And then she tells you, and then straight away I come off the phone call after, like, obviously tried my best with her, but straight on the phone to my dad, and I'm just crying. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, oh, our dad's passed away. And then he's just like sitting there going, that's, this is how you got to remember this happens. You've got to, like, and then me and my dad went on holiday last week.
Oh, nice.
So we went away together for 5 days, and, just obviously got closer and spent time together. And it's just little things like that. Like, you don't think these things happen until obviously it's too late. And unfortunately, she's learned the lesson,
Yeah.
but I get to, you know, learn it for her, because I get to still have my dad and make sure I spend the right time with him. But she's like, it's like a wake up call, isn't it?
Yeah. 1000%. Has it changed? I mean, was that trip planned before this all happened, or was this in reaction to the life is precious type of feelings?
It was a bit of both.
Okay.
He had invited me to go out for a little bit before this happened. He did mention it. He's like, you need a break. I'm gonna go, so you can come with me. And I was like, I'll think about
Aw.
it. I've got, like, because I was proper like, he knows what I'm like, and I'm going, I need to work, and I've got to do it. I can't take this time off right now. It's really important. And he's like, yeah, but you need to take a break. When are you going to do it? You can't just, work all the time. I'm going, I get that, but, not right now. I've got plenty of time to go on holiday. But yeah, like, I think after that, and that took its toll on me anyways. Like, that news, I couldn't streaming. Well, I've got that in the, like, after that I was just my head's elsewhere. And then I was also going, I want to spend time with my dad. So it was like a mix of both. I'm going, right, I'm gonna take this break, I'm doing it. And I just went, yeah, I'm coming with you. So
I love that. And this
yeah,
ends up being a perfect segue towards the content creation aspect of the conversation.
exactly.
But how was that? Was that a difficult? It sounds like it was somewhat of a difficult choice, but what were your feelings in terms of actually taking the time off work, actually trying to be present with your dad for those 5 days? Were you still finding ways to work? Did you find a way to completely just be present and realize that you'll work on work later? What was that? Because I know I have the biggest struggle. Like, even just taking a day away from not replying to messages is impossible.
Yeah.
Like 5 days. Like, I'm getting uncomfortable just thinking about 5 days
No,
away.
I know.
So what was
know.
that for you? How was there any like preparation in terms of getting your content ready? Like, walk me through that.
Well, I actually I kept pushing it off, because I was like, I don't know if I can go, I don't know if I can go, I don't know if I could do it. It's a long time at once. And especially as a Facebook creator, I feel like
Yeah.
that is when it hits you the most. because you're just all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, the algo, like I can't take 5 days off. It's gonna hate me. But it came at a perfect time because I decided to give up my Facebook partnership on the 1st of April there. So I was
No
like,
way. Like
yeah,
3 days ago.
yeah.
Congratulations. It's such a
you.
weird
Yeah.
congratulations to
Yeah.
present to people, but that's yeah. We'll talk more about that, but congrats.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
a
you.
difficult step to
Freedom.
take, dude. So difficult.
Yeah, so I decided that
Freedom.
I decided that about 2 weeks ago, and I knew that was coming up. But in my head, I'm going, you need to make sure you're on your best before this change comes about. And then I'm going, no, this is the exact time to take a break and just start fresh. Like this is, it made sense to me. It's the perfect time to have a break, come back, and figure it all out when you get back. So like that I knew I had to do it. And since I've started, I've never had 5 days off in a row. Like it's not happened. So
Oh yeah.
it's just doesn't really happen. But I decided so last minute. It was the day before we left. I texted my dad and went, "Yeah, I'm coming." I had not decided up until that point. I kept being like, "Yeah, no, yeah," and I just kept going back and forward. And then he's like,
Nice.
"Jade, you need to come." Yeah, it was like I think it would be about 5-6 days before we went that my friend's dad passed away, and it was and he just went,
Oh
"Jade, you need to
wow.
go." And then because that happened though, or maybe a couple of days before, more than that, but when that happened, I went, "Dad, I can't go to Cyprus. I need to be there for her. Like, I can't do it." Like, he's like, "No, Jade, you need to be there for you to be there for her." And I was like,
I
"Oh,
love
you're
your dad.
right." I know. um, so I ended up going, but because I decided so last minute, I hadn't prepared anything. So I did want to not do too much while I was out there because that's the whole point in having a break. But I did take my laptop and I was
Nice.
constantly on my phone. I was constantly talking in my Discord, and I did get an editor to do some edits, so I didn't have to do them while I was out there.
Nice.
So I did do that, just a couple, but yeah, I did manage not to stream because I said to him before I left, I was like, "Guys, I'll probably do like a wee chatting stream or something," and I was like, "Manage not to," because they're all like, "No, just leave us alone," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay." But I did manage to talk on Discord to them all and keep in touch with everybody, and I couldn't not, and yeah, I was constantly active, but not to. I did manage to stop a little bit. I did manage to take the time that I needed to just be more present than I probably would have been.
Yeah. Are you typically a work your way through the feelings type person? In terms of keeping yourself busy and maybe not feeling as much?
Yeah, I would say I probably am. I'm unfortunately I'm one of those people who has never really dealt with emotions very well, and I
Mm.
imagine there's a lot of people that feel this way,
Oh
but
yeah.
I've yeah, I suck. I suck with emotions. I'm terrible with them.
Say
But
more. Say more. Like
I am working on that.
is it identifying them? Is it the actual trying to process why you're feeling what you're feeling?
Oh, it was all of it.
Oh,
Like
it's all yeah. Okay.
I was you know, not yeah, just did not have any of it. It is a work in progress though. So
Nice.
because I don't know, I grew up in a very male dominated household. I didn't really have any female role models as such or anything like that. I have three brothers, and that's yeah. It was just a case of I didn't really understand how to be a female, and
Yeah.
my emotions are very different, and dealing with all that stuff, I ended up being like them and just being rowdy and angry and like whatever, and just like trying to be like that part, which ended up me not knowing how to just feel, because
Yeah.
unfortunately, like I know but it shouldn't be the way, but guys are a lot less likely to feel, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
I ended up doing that, but it's affected me like all the way through, and only now that I'm older and I realize it's a problem. I used to think that was my superpower.
Dude, same.
It's bad, isn't it?
It's incredible. Like my ex used to always give me shit for it. She's like, dude, you always think it's like 75 and sunny. Every time there was a problem, whether it was like motivation to go to the gym or whatever, I'm just like, just do it. Like, it's not hard. Like, life, you're not sad, blah, 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 blah. And then 3 years later, I'm just like, oh no, I feel all the things. I was just trying to not. And this, I get why, because it fucking sucks.
Yeah. You do think it's some sort of like, you're amazing at coping and this is why, like, because you're not showing it or not feeling it properly, and it's like, yeah, because I am really good at this. It's the complete opposite. You're terrible at it. You're lying to yourself. So you need to feel them.
So what started you becoming, let's use the term comfortable, more comfortable exploring your feelings? Was there a certain instance? Was it what started that awareness? Because that's a beautiful thing to become aware of.
I think there's so many parts to it. I think I knew deep down that I struggled with it, but I just always thought I was alone. And that was the problem, because I was so bad at like feeling my feelings that I just didn't really, I felt misunderstood. And of course no one understands how you feel because you haven't told them, you haven't shown them. And it made me feel misunderstood all the time.
So can you walk me? Oh, you're so good. So would that be you trying to have a conversation with one of your brothers of like, hey, I'm feeling this way, and them dismissing it? Was it like a dismissal of it? Was it what was the, I guess like I don't want to say the confusion, but kind of that muddling of it?
I think it's like people anybody close to me, I just would get quite frustrated because I didn't understand why they didn't get where I was coming from or how to. It was more the fact that people would react certain ways or act certain ways or just do certain things or say certain things. And I'm going, why would you do that when it's obvious I'm going to feel this way? It's obvious this is how I'm going to feel. Oh, no, it's not. No one's a mind reader. No one knows how you feel about anything.
Yeah.
And I used to get so wound up by it. I'm going, obviously I'm not good. It's like, how would you not think I'm going to be upset by that? But I just would have a straight face and not react, not do anything. No one knew that I was upset by anything. And I'm just going, what do you mean you don't know I'm upset? Of course I am. And it's, like things like that. It's just my lack of communicating or showing anything made relationships very, very difficult, whether it's family, friends, or, romantic, because I just assumed that everybody knew how I felt without showing or telling.
Interesting. And that
became a problem.
Keep saying words. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good. No, like that was where it started becoming. My frustration with that situation was outward, and then it became inward. I started getting frustrated at myself because I couldn't tell people how I felt. I couldn't show people how I felt because I got to that point of just masking it and not being able to do it. And then the frustration turned from being angry at everybody else for not understanding me to being angry at myself for not being able to do it. I was actually embarrassed by emotion.
Really?
So yeah, like I felt shame if I felt like I needed to cry. And so much so that at my grand's funeral, I was embarrassed that I was crying and I was trying to hide. And it's going, that's the most common place and most acceptable place for you to cry. And you're like, oh my God, I best make sure no one sees them crying because that's so embarrassing. Like, that was how bad it was. And I was going, no, like I can't, this is just uncomfortable. Like, it's just, I was so bad for it. But that was kind of where I decided that I wanted to change things, because it wasn't even just in the moment. Then those feelings don't go away.
No.
They stay in there, and then at some point they're coming out a different way. And that was kind of how things ended up going. I would end up either, I was all right on my own. I'll cry on my own as long as there's no one watching. I'm all right with
as long as no one is witnessing me feel things, it's acceptable.
I'm all right with that. But the only, it's weird. The only emotion that I found acceptable to show was anger, as if that was like, it's the toughest one. Like, it's not embarrassing, whatever. Anger shows you're in control, or whatever you want to think it was. that was the only one I showed, but it actually got to the point that if you don't show, like, my understanding of it now is if I didn't feel the low parts, I actually didn't feel the high parts either, and I didn't show that either, I would not show if I was happy. I wouldn't let anybody in on the fact that I was enjoying myself or anything like that. Like, I was like basically a robot.
So it wasn't even just negative emotions. It was the positive ones as well.
Yeah.
Were the men in the house stoic in that regard as well? Did they show excitement? Where did you learn that behavior?
See, I don't know where that one comes from. Because I wouldn't say everybody was like that around me, but I think my understanding of now, or my guess, I don't really know, but is maybe from if I felt like if I was showed I was happy about something, it made me vulnerable.
Oh.
And that could then people know that that's what makes me happy. They could control over that or anything like that. Like, there's so many aspects to it, but it was just the fact that even happy emotions are vulnerable, and that was where it drew the line. Like, anything that made me feel vulnerable, I just stopped. But anger didn't. For some reason, anger and frustration didn't feel that way, but all the other ones did.
That's so interesting. And you can't recall a time where your joy was taken vulnerably or used against you? It almost just seems inherent some way.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a pinpoint memory.
Yeah.
I don't really know where that bit comes from, but I don't know if that's a learned thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just me trying to protect myself in a way. I don't know if that's just a result of everything. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't normally have maybe a thought or something or a memory or whatever. I don't really know where that one comes from. It just seems to be a general thing, but I actually the happy emotions became more of a frustration because people didn't know when I was happy for them or like enjoying my time. Like, I I don't know. It's just, it seems such a basic thing to do, and I think people forget that these things actually are learned and taught. But like going out for a nice dinner, I've got to the point. I got to the point where I had to learn to be like, hey, I really enjoyed that. I couldn't do that before, and that was such a basic thing to do, but I actually had to physically put the effort in to learn that as an adult. It's just such a random thing, but because I'm not sitting there like expressing so much emotion, it's like, you need to do that. You need to communicate and be like, hey, actually, I really enjoyed that before, like, and do little bits like that until the emotion becomes more explicit, I guess. So you don't have to be so communicate with words,
Yep.
words, but yeah, I think I had experiences with people that are close to me, and they seem to think that I didn't enjoy being around them or like things like that. I'm going, what do you mean? How could you possibly think that? But it's purely because I wasn't expressing any joy or happiness or excitement because, well, I thought that was too vulnerable, so I didn't do it.
That's interesting. And even with the ones that are like closest in your life too.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's just I just looking back on anything exciting, I would always I almost, in my own body, I would naturally just try and tone it down. I'd be like, as if I wanted to seem cool and unfazed,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, like, oh yeah, that's no big deal. Like, I did that in my head all the time to try and be like, don't act like it's a good thing. Just keep it cool. And I don't know why, but it was a thing in my mind programmed to just not be enthusiastic.
That's
I
how
don't know.
how are people in, because of course I'm not from there. You're from, because I don't want to say the wrong place and get yelled at by the world. You are from exactly where?
Scotland.
I thought so. Okay.
Glasgow, yeah.
How are people is that a normal thing for others in sort of their hiding of their excitement? Like, would you say other people around you are more comfortable with that in terms of just, yeah, like your group of friends when you were young or growing up? Was that expected?
I think Scotland as a whole are miserable.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
I actually, yeah, I think it's quite common. But some are obviously way more secure, and
Yeah.
they were able to be that like happy and whatever and show all these good emotions. Um, but Scotland definitely has a culture of being one of those places that people get torn down before they are trying to succeed. You know, they like you don't they're not very good at motivating each other and being really supportive and stuff. Like it was, if I was at school, I don't think I would ever have touched streaming because you
Really?
would get ridiculed, like that kind of thing. You know, that is, people don't really like each other doing anything different here or anything out the box until you're obviously at the top. Once you're at the top, you're fine. But even when I was at school, if you were even musical or like if you were the ones that were trying to do the school plays, like or anything like that, if you were one of the art ones, like anything sort of it seems to be all the creative aspects, but anything
Yeah.
sort of different, not the standard, don't even know what a standard route is, but do you know what I
Right?
mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
yeah, I found Scotland to be a weird one like that. I feel like just the culture around me has always been it's quite negative.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because I feel
yeah.
like you guys are always taking the piss out of each other. So I would have thought it would have been, is there, it seems like there might be more legitimacy in those insults or that banter than I guess maybe us over here might expect. Is that accurate, I guess? So many questions, so many inflections.
Um, I would. We are very bad for showing our love in a sarcastic manner. You'll very often find us bantering with each other and calling each other names or whatever,
Yeah.
but you're normally doing that from a place of love, which I think is really not great.
Yeah.
Um, because I think it's very common for us over here to be very uncomfortable with sharing love in a loving way. You'll know that the difference between someone, being like, do you mind if I swear?
Oh, do it.
Um, yeah, like you'll know the difference if you'd be like, my brothers will be like banter each other, and you'd be like, "Oh, you wee bastard" or whatever, and it's going. That's not an insult. That is from a place of them being loving and whatever. But you'll know the difference if someone like I would. It's funny actually because I feel like swear words over here are actually somehow compliments and only used when you like someone. But other words, like if you call someone a cow here, very insulting. Do not do
Really?
that. Yeah, do not call a Scottish girl a cow. That is worse than anything else. You could call her a bitch, she'll be fine, but do not call her a cow.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's like everyday items and like animals and stuff are more insulting than actual swear words because I feel like we've just got so used to using swear words in a really affectionate way.
Yeah, it seems.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, I wouldn't take a cow as a compliment any day of the week, but
No.
the fact that that's one of the worst is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, like if you were to insult me, call me a cow. Like I would be, but you could call me a bitch. I'd be like, all right. But you call me a cow, I'd be like, who the hell are you talking to? Like, yeah, that one's. I don't know why though. I'm not sure, but that just seems to be a thing over here. Um, yeah, I just don't know. Like we're very bad for like insulting each other in a friendly manner, which it just doesn't really make sense. Like I now that I'm older, and I feel like I did this for a few years as I grew up, but it was very common for my family to kind of like joke about being fat and whatever, and like, oh, you're, or even skinny also. Like it's just like joking about like, oh, you fat boy, and it's going, but that's someone you like,
Yeah.
like that is, why are you saying that? But that was normal. Like you would say that to your best pal, or like I'm trying to think of other examples, but it's more common to point out some part of their body or some part of their looks or something to address someone. And like I, for girls it'd be constantly be like calling your best friend slags. Like that is normal. Like that is a good thing. It's not a good thing, but you call your besties like you're like, oh, you slags or whatever, and that would be how you greet them. So it's just
Oh,
that's normal here.
I mean, it makes sense that you might struggle a little bit with legit compliments and intimacy if all of the love is filtered through fake insults.
Yeah, it is. You'll find a lot of people here aren't very good at just being openly nice. Like we'll find a different way of knowing we're being nice, but everybody knows that's where it comes from, but we won't naturally like just say it. I find that especially with Americans, this might be very general, but
It's usually right.
because yeah, you guys are so enthusiastic and so happy and you show it.
So
Whereas we're just so sarcastic all the time and so yeah, like it's just dry and blunt
yeah.
and but it obviously makes it just difficult because if you were to show anything else, it was almost just too much.
Yeah.
It comes across as too much, and that becomes a problem.
So, how do you even begin to cultivate or like try to have a genuine, hey, let's not call each other slags and actually talk about things? How do you get to that point? Like how do you break down that sarcastic barrier with someone?
I don't know. That's what is difficult because I don't feel like I did until I got older. And even I would say, so I'm 25 now,
I was going to ask.
and
Okay.
I would say past 3-4 years, I'd maybe have started to actually I could have a good conversation with a close friend and be really open. I actually feel like I almost went the other direction and started just oversharing and just being
Yeah.
really like, oh my god, like everything. Whereas before you get nothing. But yeah, like I feel like now we can all kind of do it. It's just naturally started to be like or easier and not I wouldn't say easier, but we're all just doing it and it's less.
Interesting.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't insult my friends anymore as a way of affection. I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah, like I
You've
don't do
kind of
that anymore.
changed. I love that.
Yeah, my friends don't do that either. And like, I don't know. I don't know if you just grow out of it. I don't really know at what point it stops and we all just start being normal.
Well, I mean, so you mentioned 3 to 4 years ago. So if you can even remember, what did it start? Because you mentioned that it was the experiencing or wanting to feel emotions started with you, but then obviously you need to bring those to other people and include that. What did that look like? How did you get to that vulnerable place? Like what were you saying to your friends that allowed you to then get that connection that you were looking for?
To be honest, it started with just listening to them. I still wasn't sharing much.
So would you say that your friends were more vulnerable before you?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, my friends and even my exes were probably always the vulnerable ones. And I kind of yeah, I feel like it didn't help because anytime they would come to me, I almost got compliments about how I handled things.
Mm.
And it would always because I didn't react to things, it'd be like, "Oh, you're so mature and you handle things so well," and all this stuff. And I used to like be like, "Oh my god, that's totally me. I'm so good at this." And I used to think it was a great thing. And then it was when I started going through stuff like breakups and things with family, and when things actually started being difficult as an adult, and being aware of that, and I'm going, where do I go? Like, who do I talk to? And who, like, I hadn't figured out where my support was. I hadn't figured any of that out because I'd never tried. I'd never been into anyone, and I'd always just kept it to myself. But when I got to a point where I couldn't do that anymore, I'm going, where do I go? I don't know where I'm going. And that made me feel very, very lonely. Had loads of people.
Yeah.
I had friends, I had family or whatever. In some instances, boyfriend. Like, I, but I still didn't know where to go. I didn't feel comfortable with any of that with people because I hadn't built that relationship with them.
Yeah.
And that was when the last 2 years things got really, really hard in my life, and I just was like a lost puppy. No idea what I was doing. I didn't know where to go. My stream was a massive outlet for me.
Yeah.
But it's not like I could do, like, I wasn't, it's not enough. Like, that helped a little bit, but yeah, at that point I just went, no, I want to start therapy. I need something. And it was actually, the therapy started for two reasons. One, because I wanted someone to talk to, and it seemed easier to go to a therapist.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, it seems easier to talk to somebody who's non-biased, I don't have to have their opinions or anything, because I was like, that was a lot of what I was scared of when it came to talking to people close to me. It was their reactions or their opinions. I was like, oh, someone who doesn't know who I am, that's fine. I can go speak to them. But one of the first things I said when I went there, she says like, oh, what are you here for? What can I help you with? And I said, I am so done with not having people in my life. And that was one of the first things I said. I was like, I've got loads of people around me, but I feel like I don't have my people. Like, I don't know where to go when times are tough. I don't know who to rely on. I feel like I know who to pick, but
Yeah.
I've never built that up with them, and I just didn't know how to do it. And it was like a massive wall between us. And I didn't realize just how much I kept people at arm's length, and how different it is when you don't. Like, a relationship
Yeah.
is so different. Even, like, I'm not even romantic, like friendships and stuff. The closeness you get from that vulnerability is massive. I never had any of that. And it wasn't until I started doing that I realized what I'd been missing out on. um, it's just, yeah, it's, you can have friends, but I feel like not everybody knows, but because I definitely didn't, but the vulnerability with friends and family and partners creates a bond or closeness like nothing else.
Yeah.
It's just so important. And I avoided that for forever. I avoided it completely because it terrified me. But I was missing out on everything that everybody that does that got to experience. Like, it's crazy different. It's just, I'm still not 100% there yet because it takes a lot of time to do
We're
that.
never
but
100% there.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
myth.
true. Yeah. But yeah, just having, so like coming back to when my friend's dad passed away, I just sat there, like, and obviously was crying and whatever and going through it. And my brain just went, wow, I care so much about this person. Like, my heart was just like, I can't believe, like, I would do anything to take this person's pain away. Like, you know, just that, being able to like sit and cry with her and just being like there for like all this stuff, and her, and the leading up to that, she's been there for like helping me through a lot of things in my life. And it's going, this would never have happened if it wasn't for sharing these horrible, horrible moments.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't know, it's just, it's weird because it was after that phone call where I found out. I just sat there and went, I even drafted a tweet. I would never have sent it, but I screenshot it and said, I wrote this. And it's literally, I've never felt so grateful to have someone in my life that I care so deeply for, that I would literally do anything to take the pain away. Like, I actually wished it was me that felt how she felt. Like, I genuinely, like, she's the only person apart from my dad that I would feel that way for. But it's just so, like, I felt so connected to her. It's just so weird because I don't think I ever would have done that if I hadn't been at therapy. I don't think I would have felt that at all. I'd never felt that way before.
That's beautiful, man. And how long have you been in therapy now? Or are you still in? Or was it, or did you graduate? Yeah. Oh, nice.
Graduate. Yeah, so I started about September last year.
F yeah, dude.
And it's been an interesting journey for sure. But it's actually, I don't feel like I've seen the progress until recently. Because you obviously, there's a lot into it, and it takes, everybody's different, everybody's journey's different. But
yeah.
A lot of the time you have to get worse to get better.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I obviously the first it's been opening up all the wounds and experiencing all that and feeling all the feelings that I've never felt and doing all these things. And it's, I suffer really badly with anxiety and I didn't know that's what it was. Which is just crazy now that I know what it is. It's
dude,
like I didn't know what an anxiety attack was, and I didn't know I'd been doing that for God knows how long. And when I found out that's what it was, I just went, really? Like, I'm not weird? Like, it's so weird. Like, the awareness of it and just even knowing that just changes everything. And knowing that and being able to explain to people that's what it is and that's what you're experiencing, then they understand you and things don't get worse and they don't react because you're having a moment. And it's just, everything's so, like, it's now I actually am seeing how things are easier and I'm getting better at it. And yeah, but the first like couple of months, you didn't want to be around me for that. That was
really
rough.
Why was it? Yeah, why?
It's just even beginning of January, actually, like when I just kept checking out. Like because I was trying so hard to heal myself, I didn't have anything left for anybody else. I was constantly analyzing myself 24/7, trying to figure out, because as soon as I because I was doing it weekly, but as soon as I came out and I'd learned something else about where something came from or how I feel about something, then, or even just what something is, that whole week in between before the next one, I'm like noticing things that I do and analyzing every little bit of me and every thought I'm thinking about and analyzing. Like, I'm constantly going over everything that I did, and it's tiring.
Oh yeah.
And it is so hard to then have anything left to give. I really struggled because obviously I'd spent my whole life not feeling anything.
Yeah.
So I was genuinely knackered. Do you know what knackered
means? Yep. Exhausted, tired, wiped out.
I was genuinely, I don't know. I've said that a few times. People are like, knackered. I'm like, yeah, knackered, tired. And I'm like, oh.
Luckily, I talk to your people enough. I've got some of the vernacular down.
Yeah, but it's so draining. I never expected anything to be so draining. But life didn't stop, So,
yeah.
I'm trying to stream and I'm still dealing with what's happening in the background. I'm still dealing with the family situation and still dealing with all the stuff. None of that stopped. I'm just processing all of like trying to get through trauma, trying to sort wounds out, trying to do that while dealing with the present. That some people, unfortunately, who were around me at the time, they could not get anything from me. I just had nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And then it became really apparent over Christmas and New Year. It was my family situation has changed drastically in the last year. So last Christmas to now, that Christmas there, it's been horrible. Like, it's all just, don't know, like basically the house burned down, like my house didn't burn down, but like, no, like it's just like that's how it felt. Like,
okay. I was like, oh my God, that is awful.
No, like, but like that's how it felt. Like there was nothing left anymore. Like, so without going into too much detail, like, parents split, and mother no longer in my life anymore, and
I'm sorry about that.
Obviously gran passed away, and like it just, you know, it just felt so like everything had just gone.
Yeah.
You know, that's how but it was still all kind of happening, so it's still like, you know, you don't just they don't just deal with divorces. It's not like it's one and done and whatever.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's been going on in the background, dealing with all that. Unfortunately, mum is struggles with alcohol. She's very bad when it comes to her alcoholism. Very aggressive, abusive, manipulative, whatever you want to do.
I'm sorry about that.
So she's not in my life through. I would say it was my choice because I was done being a punching bag, but
Yeah.
thankfully it made it easier that they split and she moved out, so that I didn't have to like worry about that situation. But that's all been going on like in the lead up to that Christmas, and then turning up that Christmas, we used to have a big family. We used to, you know, everybody would get together and we'd have a massive thing. And it was just like the empty, you know, like
Yeah.
sitting there going, just me and my dad. I'm going, what the hell is this about? I used to love Christmas. It was my favorite day of the year. I loved the family getting together. It was just everything. I loved it. And it was just like gone. And I just felt like everything was just not there. And like that, after the first couple of weeks in January, I was like just got like so disconnected from everything, so not there. Like that processing that whole, like, what was, I guess it was kind of grief.
Yeah.
Like all the loss of was so apparent during Christmas because that's where everybody used to be present, I suppose. And after that, like I was just gone. Like if you tried to speak to me, I feel really like, obviously looking back on it now, I feel horrible for the people that were the other side of it and dealing, like having to cope with me or put up with me and during that time. But yeah, like I would normally have just kept going. I would normally would never have done anything, but I actually felt feelings and just, and that was weird. Like I've really noticed me doing it, and I felt everything, and I was just going, oh my god, you know, it's really upset me, and feeling the loss and everything like that. That I found it so difficult that I just was disconnected from everything else. I had nothing else to give to anybody or whatever. But I obviously had to do that because I just needed to be able to figure out how to do that for me.
Yeah.
To be able to even be there for other people. But it's like, I look back now and it's weird. I almost feel like a different person. Like I feel like I had to go through all of that and just feel like worse.
Yeah.
And be horrible to be around and be just not, it was just not nice. And to now I'm like, you know, I could tell someone how I feel and it's okay, and I can, you know, cry in front of someone. I can tell everybody, like, you know, I'm struggling right now, like I need a moment, or I can do all that now. And it just feels like, why it's annoying because I look back and go,
it's annoying.
I know, like, why was that so difficult?
Yeah.
That's not hard. You know,
dude, it's so hard again until you start doing it, and then it's like, oh, why wasn't I doing this the whole time? Like once you realize that you can actually just like say the things that you want and need in life, and if someone doesn't agree with it, you can tell them to fuck off. Like it's so powerful. It's so beautiful.
It's crazy, the difference. Like just being able to tell someone, hey, I need this, and that's it. That's all you had to do. They didn't have, there was no game involved to figure out what you needed. Like,
that's exactly what it is. It's the taking the game away. It's taking the, like, I need you to know how I feel and then know how to take care of me based on said perceived feeling. Like there's so much guesswork that if literally, it's that's the hard part, is I feel the naming of it. But once you're able to just name and be like, oh, this is how I feel. This is what would make this better. I'm going to tell this person that. Like that, it's so great.
It's amazing. It's just because that was the thing when I first started and I went into therapy. She tells me this now. Obviously, she didn't tell me at the time, but she'd be like, "You just you didn't move. You just sat there and you just spoke with a straight face. And I'm like, you could sit there and be telling me the most traumatic story from your past, and you just have a straight face. You didn't do anything. I'd ask you how you felt, and you'd be like, I don't know. And that was all I had. That's it.
Yeah.
I had
I don't
nothing.
know.
Yeah, I had nothing. And now when I go in, she's like, how did that make you feel? And I'm like, it's quite complex. You know, there's a little bit of anger from this situation. I feel a bit guilty. And I actually, you know, I'm obviously sad. And I
I
know
love it.
I can pin every single thing. Obviously, there's loads more to go, but
Yeah.
it's just the difference is crazy, because that obviously it helps in therapy, but with the people in your life, it's going, just being able to communicate that, it
Yeah.
changes everything.
And are you someone who knows those feelings and what you need very quickly? Are you someone who needs a little bit, 10, 15 minutes, whatever, of silence to sort of process and gather your emotions?
um I would say I probably need time to process, or
Okay.
just patience is more. Do not
Ooh.
rush me. Do not like make me feel like under pressure to figure out anything. Like, I need to, if I feel safe, then I can work through it.
I
But
like that.
I think, so I don't know if this is for the same with everybody, but my anxiety builds up if I want to hide how I obviously feel underneath it.
Yeah.
So if I feel like you're gonna get frustrated that I'm not answering or not responding how you like soon enough, or like worried about how you're gonna react or anything like that, my anxiety goes up, which makes it harder then to figure out how I feel. So, if, like, for example, last week when I was with my dad, I had an anxiety attack come on, and it was purely stemmed from the fact we were having a conversation, and it just I started feeling obviously emotional, and like emotions started getting heightened, and it's quite complex. But I was really worried about showing them. Like, this is basically goes back to how I was dealt with things, but I was like, worried about upsetting him or how he would react if I showed that I was upset. Um and then he was just getting kind of frustrated with me, and then that made me do like get worse and do exactly what he doesn't
Yep.
want me to do. And like I start worrying and thinking, oh no, he's gonna get really angry at me. Then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't even know how I feel right now, because now I'm too worried about, you know, like upsetting you and whatever. um but then all it takes for him to go is like, what are you so upset about? And I just had the only thing I can get, I can't say anything when I have an anxiety attack. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get words out, because my brain just shuts off. But the only thing I can manage to say, I just say too much, too
Nice.
much. And then he's like, right, you're all right, take it, like, can't, like, will helps calm me down, whatever. And then after that, I can tell you exactly how I felt in that moment. But at that time, I couldn't, like, that's just an example of like, I'll need to get out of that moment of freaking out about everything to then tell you where I'm at. But you have to give me the space to feel
Yeah.
safe to for me to come back down and be able to give you what you want from me. If you make me feel like, if he was to keep going at me, be like, why are you not responding to me? Like, what's wrong? Like, what are you doing? And being quite, if he was aggressive, it would have, you would never have got anything from me. Like, I would never have revisited that conversation. Um, but now that I've got to the point where we know, I've obviously before this point, I've had conversations with my dad to explain um what my anxiety does, and where, like, what I do when it happens, and that if I'm not responding, it's not me being stubborn or being annoying. It's actually I'm not able to. And I've had all these conversations, but I wouldn't have had these conversations if it wasn't for going to therapy and knowing what it was for a start. Um, but now that he knows that that's what I might do, he reacts completely differently, which helps me then
Nice.
be able to give him, you know, what he wants from me, which is responses and understanding where I'm at. But I used to just check, like, not be able to do that. And it's just such a massive process of going and figuring out what it is I'm feeling and where it comes from, and this is what I do, to understanding that myself, to then communicate it to my dad, so that when things happen that I can't be on top of, because it happens, I'm never gonna always be able to control these things.
Oh
There are going
yeah.
to be moments where I can't do it, you know. I'm getting better and I'm going to keep getting better, but his knowledge of where I'm at and being able to communicate that before means that his dealing with these situations is so much better, and that also brings us closer and makes
Yeah.
me more safe and more vulnerable with him, because I now feel like I'm understood. And I think that was a one being understood or feeling misunderstood
Mm.
was a massive thing for me. Like, I felt that, always felt like the barrier with everybody around me was the thought, like the feeling of being misunderstood. Like, no one understands me. Like, why? But I didn't even, I had to understand myself to then
Yep.
communicate that to them so they understand me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, the journey's crazy. But
Yeah.
to
That's
look back where you start and then how you are now, you're like, whoa,
and how
this
did
is
that
weird.
and how did those initial conversations go with your dad? Like, did you, even before therapy, did you feel safe with him if you were able to name emotions? Were you yeah, how did that progress and change? Because obviously this is something he's learning as well. Like, he's
Yeah.
essentially learning how to be your friend, how to support you. What was that? Was it difficult? What was that journey?
Um, he was, yeah, I definitely did not feel safe having emotions around him. Um, I used to feel like my emotions hurt other people. Um,
Interesting. Say more.
so if someone upset me and I showed them I was upset, that would upset them. Or if I was,
Yep.
or even like just the thought that me feeling a certain way would make them feel a certain way. Just things like that. Like, I didn't like the impact my emotions could have on other people. Um, but that's not really my fault.
No.
So that's just, obviously people might get upset that you're upset or that they've upset you, but that's not your fault. Like, you can't
Yeah.
just act like you're not upset because you're worried about them being upset. But that was always what I did. I never felt safe with him to show my emotions, because either I would get a response that just made me feel like I shouldn't have done it. I'd
Mm.
often regret showing my emotions because I'd see him be upset or him get angry or whatever it was. And then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that. So I did that with most people. Obviously some people are very, really good at just being gentle.
Yeah.
You could show emotions and they'll just be like, that's all right. Like, I'm okay. It hurts me to see you that way, but don't worry. But
Yeah.
some people are just like, what? Like, how can you feel that way? And then you're like, oh, I don't know why. I just, and that's it can just be even just that response. I was like, I don't want to upset someone. Um, so I was like that with him when it came with most emotions. So he went from getting nothing from me, and then when it came around to difficult things happening and me not reacting to them, I feel like when things aren't difficult, it's easy to act like nothing's happening, nothing's bothering anybody or whatever. But when things that are difficult have come about and everybody's experiencing them, like it was his mum that passed away, my gran,
Mm.
when that happened, and like I wasn't being very responsive and I wasn't being giving him anything when he was talking to me about stuff. But if it was difficult when it came to the emotional side, he started getting frustrated and he started just, it was kind of driving a wedge between us a little bit, because he's like, why are you giving me nothing? Like, why are you not telling me? Or because he just realistically, he just wanted to help me. He wanted to be there for me, because he's like, I don't want you to suffer on your own. Like,
Yeah.
why won't you just let me be there for you? Um, And to the point he was just getting frustrated. But I was going, that didn't make me feel safer. It
Yeah.
didn't. It's not what it was. But yeah, unfortunately, he was just someone that would get frustrated still does, but gets frustrated very, very quickly. So he's not a very patient person. And what I required at and I still kind of do, is patience. Like, I will give you what you're asking for, but I just need a moment to get to that point. Um, so it wasn't until I started going to therapy, and I told him, I was like, look, I'm going to try it. And he was very supportive. Like, he's, of course, like nothing else to that. He was just going, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. It'll hopefully help you like deal with all this stuff. And then so I've started doing that, and he would ask me how it goes and what's been happening. And
Nice.
he's very supportive with that. And then it was, I think it was just like having episodes of like any sort of conflict or me having emotions and stuff throughout like the journey, after I started therapy. But be like, once I started being aware of what it was just little bits. Like, if we had an argument, I was explaining a little bit at a time, and he became more and more and more aware of this, like how I felt and how I handled things.
Nice.
um it was never like a sit down conversation of, hey dad, this is how I do
Yeah.
things, this is how, it was like when things happened, I'm like, all right, dad, I know you didn't like how I did this, or you know I did this because of this, and this is where it comes from, and like, it's not how you think it is. Like, for example, at Christmas, I really struggled with, by the end of the night, I was just so emotional, but I didn't want to be emotional in front of him, because I'm going, I don't want him to think that I didn't enjoy my day, or because he tried so hard to make that day special because he knows how
Yeah.
much Christmas means to me. But by the end of it, I was just generally just like overwhelmed with a lot of complex emotions. There was a lot of grief, there was a lot of sadness, whatever. Didn't mean I didn't have a really good day,
Yeah.
but I was just sitting there. I was like, I just don't want to tell him that, because I don't want him to think he didn't do enough. And that's when it came up. Like, this is obviously the situation of being too scared to upset someone with your emotions. So it was a prime example and prime opportunity. And he was like, he tried to be, I was like, what's wrong? Like, why are you upset? And he tried to comfort me, and I just went, oh, it's nothing, it's nothing. And he keeps trying, and I'm like, nothing. And then he kept going, and he kept pushing, and because he's doing that, my anxiety's going up, and I'm going, oh no, I don't want to upset you, like, and I'm
Yep.
freaking out in my head. But all he's getting is nothing from me, and he's getting more frustrated, and he's like, I don't know why you won't just share with me, and I'm just trying to help. And I'm going, yeah, like, and I'm going, I know, but I just don't want to. It's just
Yeah.
going over and over, and then eventually I just like burst. I'm going, I just am sad because it's not how it was meant to be. And that's just kind of how it was. And he's like, I tried so hard to like whatever. And I'm going, I know it wasn't you. And he's like, and then it becomes like a proper back and forward. And then I get to the point where my anxiety is so high and I'm not responding. And if I get to a certain point, like, I actually can't hear you. Like,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
literally in a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'll keep going, and he's like getting nothing. I'm just sitting there like, nothing's going in, nothing's coming out. Like, you're getting nothing from me, but he's still trying to push. He's like, why are you not answering? Why are you ignoring me? And it just seems obviously horrible from his point of view, but he's at this point, he doesn't know what this is.
Yeah.
Um, so once everything calms down, and I'm like, Dad, like, I found out that this is actually anxiety. Like, I actually cannot respond. I cannot really process what you're saying, and my brain's going 100 miles an hour, my heart's racing. Like, I am not physically here for you to get a response from that you want. Like, it's not a choice. I'm not being awkward, I'm not being problematic. And being able to just like, obviously having the example of me doing that, and then explaining to him like that's what it is, and him going, right, okay, well, why didn't, like, you know, I didn't know that, like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me at the time? And I'm going, no, it's not actually, like, I had to then, like, obviously clarify. I'm going, during it, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't sit there and be like, I'm having an anxiety attack. Like, I can't, it doesn't come out. Like, it's not going to. You need to just, like, you need to notice it, and you need to just wait. Like, wait. Just
Yeah.
give me a second. Once it comes back down, we can have the conversation. But when it's there, there's no point. There's absolutely no way you're getting anything. And he had obviously, like I did before I went to therapy, I had no idea. If someone was like that in front of me, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Before that, like, I would never have known, even though I experienced it myself. If someone was like that in front of me, I would never have known until I'd went to therapy and learned that that's what it was, and that's what happens, and this is obviously how I cope with it and how I deal with it and whatever, and how it happens for me. And then obviously communicating that, now he knows, and when it comes up, he can now, like last week when it happened again, he noticed it and he's like, it's okay. And then after that, we like agreed that all I had to say, if I said the words too much, he knows
Nice.
that's all I have to, like, all I have to do is try and figure out how to say those 2 words, and then he can stop and we can revisit the situation after. And just something like being able to get to that point. Now, obviously, just having that understanding and feeling like he understands, then you feel like a lot safer.
Yeah.
So then the anxiety isn't as bad when you're having that conversation with that person. So now I'm less worried about his reaction because now I feel safer. So my anxiety is not going to go like crazy because I know like how we're going to deal with it. I know that I'm safe, and I know like all of these things are good. This is how it's going to be dealt with. So it just ends up being easier. And it's just, but yeah, I all started just having to go straight in at the start, like the beginning of, actually, that's what this is. Like, this is what you're doing. And it does weird. I find it weird to think about how I've been doing this for so long, but being unaware of it.
Yeah.
It's just, I thought that's just how I handled situations, which I guess it is. But if someone sat in front of me and had the exact same experience, I would not know at that, like before I went to therapy, I wouldn't know. Someone could have that moment, because my anxiety attacks aren't necessarily obvious.
I was going to say, how do they show up for you?
Yeah, so I tend to literally just shut off. Like, I don't really have like any sort of, there's not too much happening, you know? Like, if you looked at me, I'm like a blank slate. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm just not really there. Which I think if someone is a bit more of an active, like they're, you know, shaking or rocking or moving and fidgeting or whatever, that's I think a bit more obvious.
Yeah.
You'd know. But I'm quite I literally just cut off, and I'm in my head, I'm looking for the exit, and I'm like, and if I find the moment, I will just walk up and leave, and that's, no one will know.
Yeah.
That is what I'm doing. Like, no one will know. I didn't even know at the time, but now that I look back on it, like, I'll have my anxiety attacks all inside. I'm cut off, and I'll head for the door, and I'll walk away, and I'll go somewhere quiet, and then it'll all come out.
So
of course, no one knows.
So you almost need a safe place to even experience your anxiety attack to an extent.
Yeah.
Or at least like the ramifications of it. Because usually I feel, because even when I think I've only had 1 or 2, but it was fucking hyperventilating, crying, just like, like I don't know what the fuck is going on. And so, so do you end up getting to that point when you feel more comfortable, or are most of your anxiety attacks just blank slate, I've checked out? Or is there, how does that work?
Yeah, it's exactly what you say, actually. Like, in front of people, I'm like blank, checked out, nothing's happening. But if I go and be by myself, it will come, like, it will flood. Like, it is like opening the floodgates. It is coming out, and I'm like, you said, like, oh, like I'm heavy breathing,
so
and
bad.
it's just, yeah, like, it will come out if I get the chance to.
Yeah.
If I get to leave. There's been occasions in the past where I haven't managed to leave, and it's exploded in the end, and it's came out, and
Yeah.
I've just, like, like screamed, basically.
Yeah.
But sometimes it will be a case of, like, it'll happen, and then, I mean, been occasions where people leave me because they're like, I
Yeah.
can't be arsed with you because you're just not listening.
Really?
But yeah, because I just look like I'm unresponsive and ignoring
Yeah.
you. That is literally, I look like an absolute tool. Like, I look
It's
like,
that bad, or good, or whatever.
Yeah, I would hate myself if I was dealing with myself. Like, genuinely, I will give you. I just look like you're just not getting anything from me, and I'm just like, whatever. Like that's how it comes across. But obviously, I'm in my head. My head's going 100 miles an hour. Like, oh my god, like I really do. I don't want to upset this person. And like, I feel I really upset. Like, blah, 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 and it's going round and round and round and round. But you seen me doing absolutely nothing. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, that is what you think is going on here. But you could be really upset, screaming at me, whatever it is. You could be showing me all these horrible, intense emotions, and I'm just sitting there going, like, I just, like, nothing. It's nothing coming out my mouth. Jade, say something, and I'm doing it in my head. I'm like, just say it, just say something. Like, why can I not say something? And I'm just, like, going over and over and over, and nothing's coming out, and then I just end up not, because I'm doing this, I don't end up hearing anything else they're saying either. It's just I've got nothing, and it looks like I'm just being horribly, like I'm just ignoring you. Like, it's just, if I was on the other end of that and I didn't know what it was, I'd hate me too.
Yeah,
I would.
that's fair.
I just, it is not. No one wants to feel like you're just being ignored when you're expressing intense emotion. No one wants that. And you can imagine that became a massive problem when it's all right with certain people.
Yeah.
You can get away with that to a certain extent with friends, because realistically your intense emotions are never going to be as I don't know what the word is, but like you'll be obviously close to friends and intimate in some ways, but you're never as intimate as you might be with a romantic partner.
Oh yeah.
So that always became a problem when it was a romantic partner, because they just felt like I didn't care how they felt, and they didn't. And it's a lot worse in that situation, because and realistically, I care too much, and that's the problem. Like, I'm so worried about upsetting you. Too much is definitely not the word, but I'm so worried about upsetting you in my head, and that's why this is getting so out of control. But they think I don't care, and they think that I don't care that they're upset, and I'm, that became a massive problem. That was where it showed the most, because with family, they stick around anyways. Like, you're gonna, you'll figure out and work it out. Yeah, pretty much, and most of the time. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but like, you'll probably be living with them or whatever, and you'll end up just crossing each other when you go to the kitchen, and you're like, oh, you're all right, and it's like, yeah, well, like, once everything's calmed down. But when it came, like, especially with romantic partners, you're early doors and you don't see each other all the time, or and then you have like a fight, and you get me sitting there looking like I'm ignoring you and getting nothing from me. Massive problem. Became a massive problem.
So are these anxiety attacks more in response to someone else's emotion in a way, or what starts your anxiety attacks?
Yeah, it's triggered by the worry of, like, someone's reaction to what I'm about to say
Really?
or feel. Like, yeah, it's just this lack of feeling safe. That's really
Yeah.
where it comes from. Like, thinking that this person's gonna leave me if I like show that I'm upset, or this person's gonna leave if I show this emotion. That's where it comes from. It's like a proper fear of being abandoned in this moment,
Yeah.
that I'd rather show nothing. And like that's like sort of build up and build up, and it gets to the point where I do want to, like, I will be there and I'm being like, I'll think over what I'm gonna say again and again and again, and then but before it's came out of my mouth, that person said something else,
Oh, yeah.
and then that's when it starts kicking off, because I'm like, oh well, I really wanted to say this, and then like, but you've jumped something else in, and now I'm like thinking again, how am I going to word this so I don't upset them, how am I going to word this so I don't upset them, like, okay, and then you go to say they've said something else because I've not responded, and it's like I'm just getting so wound up because I'm like, how do I do this without upsetting someone, how do I do this, because if I say the wrong thing they're gonna like they're gonna leave and whatever, and if I like if I like show in my head, I think like showing that I'm crying or whatever is going to be too much, and um it all comes from that, and then it obviously gets so high, and then I'm not even listening, not even hearing what they're saying, and blah blah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's it. Literally comes from this fear of them leaving after I do it, like after I show this emotion or show or tell them how I feel. Like that's
That
yeah.
is so. And okay, so how in the F do you manage streaming with this? Like, because that all, especially when you're in a way, so much of how you're, I don't want to say how much you're behaving or acting or whatever, but there's such a value in the opinions of those other people and how they perceive you, and that causing you safety or not safety. Like, how are you still able to stream throughout this? Like, that's one of the things, because I know when I'm feeling off and I'm dealing with shit, I'm like, dude, screw stream, I can't do this, I'm gonna go sit on my couch and be a potato. But it
Mm.
seems as though you push, and I don't know if your normal would be to sit and be a potato, or if the work allows you, if that's your form of escapism. But how did you manage all of that?
Yeah, I think the stream was my escape. Like, I
Yeah.
actually, it's weird because I feel like I could almost I didn't work all the time, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I've, got to a point where I've decided to stream and then end up crying on stream. Sorry for
Nice.
that. But
If
I've
I had a dollar.
I've definitely streamed when I really, really shouldn't have, and I've ended up either, you know, just being overly emotional, and no one no one on stream knows what's going on. Like, you
Yeah.
should be doing that. But yeah, like the stream was my escape. Like, I often could come on and almost as if I was being someone else.
Not okay.
Um,
Interesting.
like, I'm completely myself,
Yeah.
but as if, yeah, like I just wasn't really the same person. Like, I could just walk in my stream room and everything that I'm struggling with could often just stay at the door. Like, I found that I seemed to work. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm definitely one of those people. If I sat on the couch, I would make myself feel. You're gonna feel.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um, that is, well, obviously what I'm trying to avoid. So
that's fair.
yeah, streaming often was the thing that I would do that with. Like, I would just, yeah, it was my properly my escape and it still kind of is. But I think now I realize that it shouldn't be as much as it was.
Yeah.
Um, and I have had, so it's bad because I started my therapy and I would do it on a Thursday morning, and I would get home and I'd press go live. I would
Dude. Yep.
decompress,
Yep.
nothing, and I'm just like, that's just what, yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even take a moment to just process everything that I've just dealt with and all this. But yeah, now, like last week when I went I went to therapy and I got back and I went, I need a moment. I'm gonna
Yep.
have to, I'm gonna push stream back for a little bit because I need to decompress and feel these feelings. Um, but yeah, going live was definitely my way of not feeling it, and yeah, I was very good at distracting myself so I didn't feel anything. Work was definitely. I feel like because streaming is my full time thing, it's just basically like going to work,
Yeah.
isn't it? So
I mean,
it's
but
a
that's,
bit harder.
I was going to say, it feels so much harder because if I was having a shit day and I had 5 people ask me, how am I, back to back to back to back to back, I'm ending stream and crying in my bed. Like, there's, so would there, I mean, would there almost be a part of you that reverted to that lack of feeling type person?
Yeah.
Like, would you still be celebrating the highs of stream and potentially the lows? Or would you be putting yourself in that middle ground to just, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. I'll feel later.
Yeah, that's exactly it. This is what I have to do, and I'll feel later.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work all the time because, like you
Oh,
said,
yeah.
like it just takes like someone to say the right thing, and you're just bubbling. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like or someone's really generous and really kind and says something really lovely, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh god,
Yeah.
oh, I've had such a bad day, and I really needed to hear that. Like, or just even someone just saying I'm proud of you. Like the amount of times
Yeah.
like a comment says that, and I just I buckle and if I'm having a bad day and someone writes that's all it took. But like also, unfortunately, I'm not being private with the stream meant some people asked the wrong questions
Yeah.
and hit the nerve. Um, because I'm so open with my stream,
Yeah.
they often knew what was going on, so it meant or they were just obviously asking, just
Yeah.
curious. Some are just nosy. But
That's fair. We know who you are.
yeah, but yeah, like sometimes they would come in and ask about the current situation that I'm upset about, and that wasn't ideal. Um, and that could be triggering, but that's purely just 'cause I'm so open with them, with a lot of them, so they don't mean it. They're just checking in, but
Yeah.
yeah, that became an issue, especially like you'll know, like I had quite I wouldn't say a public relationship, but obviously an intertwined one with the streaming side of things.
Yeah.
So it meant like if there was anything going on with that and someone asked like, oh, what's going on? Like, how are you guys going on? And it's just going, oh, did you like don't ask like what do
Yeah.
you know right now? But they're not gonna know. But
Just
yeah,
command
like
exclamation relationship in chat and it'll drop whatever the news is.
yeah, give them the update.
Yeah.
Like just like exclamation mark relationship, and I'll just have like a like traffic light system.
Yeah.
You know?
Red.
Like, it's red today. Don't ask about it. So,
That's awesome.
I should have done that. I wish I'd thought about that. But yeah, like sometimes it's not ideal because it is quite a personal thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you're just going and getting the accounts done at the office.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't just
1,000,000%.
hide. But then also I think it did help because like my whole thing is not feeling emotion in front of people. So I'm in front of people because I'm on the front of the camera. So I could,
Yep.
yeah, it kind of helped that in that sense.
I was gonna say, so yeah, how has then your relationship with stream changed as you've become more comfortable with all of these emotions? Like how would it have been even like the beginning of last year? Like if things are bad, are you not acknowledging it as much? Like what was the before and the after?
I think on stream before, I think before things got bad, I was just happy as Larry on stream all the time. So
Nice.
that was fine and I could hide everything all right. But when things got so bad that I wasn't coping well, it came out on stream in a lot of negative ways and it really impacted a lot of what I did.
Yeah.
Either I'm short tempered, the game winds me up, or some like trolls wind me up more, or things get to me faster, and I'm just, um, way more quick to react to things or anything like that. Or yeah, like I guess like I did come out like I would end up just not being as fun or enthusiastic and being a bit more snappy, and just people saw a different me sometimes. I
Yeah.
if and that's the I I really beat myself up about it because I think about how I was, because this would be about beginning of last year, like most of last year before I started therapy. But even obviously they know about therapy and stuff, but it doesn't obviously like help when it's not gone. So it's
Yeah.
been, while going through it, it's been tough, and I'll come on stream and I'm honest with them, like, guys, you know, it's a rough day today, so be patient with me. But um yeah, like it did, when things got difficult, it came out on stream and the wrong ways, and people don't know what's going on, and people just end up making opinions of you that aren't true.
Yeah.
Or you know, like I started getting worried that people thought I was this horrible person, and I'm just going, no, I'm just trying to get by, like it's not like that. But it just came out wrong, so it started off, yeah, just me not being who I wanted to be on stream. um and then I'm I really wanted to be private. I really wanted to keep it to myself, but I went, no, like they are supporting me and are here all the time. If I physically cannot manage to be positive and who I was when I started and who they expect to turn up to see, then I owe them like this, some sort of explanation in some way.
Yeah.
So I'll often be like, hey, today's a bad day, so maybe a bit quieter, or I might, you know, don't ask about this or
Yeah.
whatever. You know, so I've that's kind of just, I guess, communicating a bit more. But it doesn't, this whole thing does wind me up when it comes to streaming, and I beat myself up again and again and again about it, because I feel like who I could be with my stream and where I could go with it is completely different than is being, because I feel like I'm getting held back by all this stuff outside the stream. Like I feel like I could, you know, I'm like,
Ooh.
I
Even in the
just feel,
current moment?
yeah, like
Really?
I've just been like so drained and so tired about everything, and I really want to, like the last year, I'm like really wanted to push myself, and I didn't have it enough to give. And I beat myself up all the time because I'm going, I want to turn up and be the best streamer
Yeah.
that I could be. I want to do that every day. And most days, like, you know, probably like majority still, I'm not turning up the best streamer I can be. And like, I beat myself up all the time about it. And I just can't, but I can't change it. Like, part of me is going, this is just who you are right now. I do wonder how.
Yeah.
I wonder how big streamers do it. Like, I don't know if they've just got a lovely, jubbly life and they're just, you know, happy as Larry all the time. But, and, or if they're just so good at being professional, I don't know. But yeah, I just feel like I really struggle to. I feel like ever since, well, obviously when things got difficult, but the the veil wasn't there. Like there was no veil between me and stream me, and that
Yeah.
was like that was gone. And I think that's still gone with the therapy thing. Like going through all that and feeling everything, that veil's been lifted a lot more than it was only prior to everything kind of going to shit. So I hope, and I don't know if this is gonna upset some of them because I know they love me being real with them. But I hope that I can bring the veil back down, because I really want to just be able to not let everything outside affect the stream and not let all that be part of the stream. I want it to just be a really happy, like nice place to be,
Yeah.
and have all the energy and stuff. But yeah, I'm not quite back at that point yet. I'm still not I don't know how long that'll take. I feel like, you know, I'll maybe one or two streams a week I'll have that energy, but majority at the moment I'm still not got it. It's just not who I was on stream, and it does suck a little bit because I'm like, oh, this could be so good, and it's, you know, I'm getting feel like I'm getting
Yeah.
held back because of life. But it's just yeah, I need to. It doesn't really help the situation when I'm getting so worried about the stream aspect. When I'm trying to do this for my greater good. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing this to heal and to get better and to be more fulfilled in life in general, and to be able to have really good connections with people and be able to, be happy. I know why I'm doing all this, but it's really hard to do all this when it's affecting a current thing that I really want to do. Like I really want to stream and I really want to do this well, but it is these two things do not go hand in hand. They do not work well together. Like you're not, yeah, they're not. As I can't imagine anybody in any sort of entertainment industry does well when life is having them, at the bloody throat. Like
Yeah. I
it's
hear
just one of
that.
those.
I'd be curious what your definition of the best streamer you can be is.
Um,
Because that seems like a very, very difficult title and task to live up to.
yeah, I think, like in my head, I think back to what I was like when I was a bit like more like early doors and starting up, and maybe not at the start, because obviously at the start I was not like very good.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't think any of us want to go back to the start.
No. But there was a time where I remember, and I was just so enthusiastic about stuff and laughing all the time and making fun like of I feel like I was just fun to be around in life. But then that obviously like went to stream, like I was fun on stream, and I just,
You,
because I was happier, it's easier to kind
yeah,
of be, a better, like not better, but like I'm just more positive spirit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm kind of hearing is you almost want to exist back in the world where you weren't affected as much, and you
Yeah, a
didn't
little
have to
bit.
feel. Yeah,
Mm,
that's
yeah, you're
so
not wrong. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Would you in this hypothetical world, would you rather go back to that point and feel that confident streaming, or would you rather be where you are now and maybe not feel as confident as consistently, but be feeling more of the things of life?
Uh, that's the thing. Like, I feel like where I'm at now, I have obviously came on leaps and bounds. Like, I've improved so much when it comes to how I deal with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously my understanding of myself is just so different. But I'm still nowhere where I want to be in that. I still don't consider myself in a good place. Like I don't
Fair.
um like I'm still waking up every day and struggling. No, I wouldn't say struggling as much now actually. I would say I'm just taking it's very much one day at a time and trying to do the best I can do that day. Like I'm not waking up with a lust for life and
Yeah.
anything like that. Like it's just I'm not like some sort of amazing place now that I've done, like, because I'm still going through therapy and that's still going to be there, and I'm still trying to cope with grief of several things and going through a really difficult breakup, and trying to cope without my mom in my life and trying to figure that out, and trying to now obviously like my best friend's situation with her dad. And I genuinely I still feel like a lost puppy
Yeah.
in my life. I feel I might have a better understanding of where I want to be, but I'm not, like, I know what I need to do, and maybe like to set more of an understanding of what needs fixed, or what I need to do, or what I need to work on.
Yeah.
But that work's still not really been done. Um, I feel like that part's only just started. I feel like from September to late January, I feel like that whole time was actually just understanding myself in that current phase.
Yeah.
That whole time was me understanding why I do things certain ways, where the triggers came from, traumas, like understanding me at that current point. But now, since then, that it's been about how I move forward. Like this is, I mean, I know we're in April, but
Yeah.
it feels like a long process.
It really does.
Yeah, like so February, March, and like we're just starting April. But these months have been now about moving forward, and now it's about how we deal with it, how we go like blah blah. Because it's been a lot of trying to work through like how I am now and why I am how I am now. Like it's weird how long it took to do that. That's how
Yeah.
out of touch I was with my own self.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like now I've only just started the journey of moving forward.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's still a long way to go on that matter. So I'm still like I feel like I've not really changed all too much. I have a little bit, so I've made baby
Yeah.
steps, but the massive change is just being aware of things and being, you know, better, having a better understanding. But I haven't actually done anything to get better at it. Like I just know it now.
Yeah.
So the next challenge is just being better and getting better and um hopefully progressing in that side of me, like my emotional side of it, and um being more vulnerable with people, because at this point in time like I haven't really done all that much. I am getting better at it, but like that is still a massive challenge that I'm gonna have to sort and face and get through that. So I still got all these things to actually do. I just now I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
So unfortunately I know that this journey is still a long way to go and it's still going to be very challenging. And I think that's what I really struggle with, because I feel like I don't have the light at the end of the tunnel all too
Yeah.
much, which means what I'm struggling with when it comes to this with the streaming side of things, I'm going, how long, like, how do I do this? Like, how long am I going to, is this just going to be my stream now? Like, is this who I am as a streamer now? Like, because this journey's not going to end anytime soon. Like, how
Yeah.
am I going to, I don't know how I'm going to navigate it, and I'm still trying to figure that out. And as you'll know, navigating your streaming journey on its own,
It's hard enough.
Yeah, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
Especially with things changing and with Facebook situation and the games, and just it's constantly changing. So yeah, it's a constant learning experience just doing the streaming part. So I feel like a proper lost puppy. If you asked me what I'm doing, I'd say I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, especially now. I feel like if you'd asked me when I was proper in my like figuring out and I understood Facebook and Facebook was alright, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. I know what I'm doing. Like now I'm like obviously looking at other platforms and trying to figure out where I'm going and what I do and blah blah. And yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
I just it really doesn't help, because I have no I think that doesn't help with the whole journey, because I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing
I
when it comes to personal life or streaming.
Yeah. And I feel like you should give yourself so much credit, and you deserve so much more credit for dealing with everything that you're doing. That's why I kind of was asking what you thought the like ideal stream mentality ish would be, because
Yeah.
you are just starting this. And not only, you mentioned breakup, you mentioned everything that's going on in your life. I have become and noticed how bitter I am of seeing all of our streamer friends with partners, and realizing just how much, not only from a financial aspect, but just from an emotional support aspect, that helps so much. And then they just being there for everything and all those other things. So it's like, on top of the fact that you're discovering all of your emotions that you've ever felt and realizing how to properly feel them and be in amazing connection with humans, On top of the fact you're in a vulnerable industry where you're on camera for 7-8 hours a day on a platform that you don't even know is even going to be there. Like, there is so much that you honestly have such a valid reason to be feeling so lost, so confused, so like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
The fact that you're still standing is incredible. Like, the fact that you're still on with the energy that you have, even though it's the energy that you don't think you are wanting to bring to stream. Like, I think that's the beauty of vulnerability, of saying you're not having a good day, because it's not realistic. We're not making $100,000 a month like all these other top people in our own custom houses with our own custom studios with our loving partners and all that shit. Like, no, we're growing a business and growing yourselves. Like, that's infinitely harder.
Yeah.
So like
I think it's exactly as the building a house, right? Our foundations aren't all the same.
Yeah.
Like, some of us just don't have the foundation that others have, and they can build a much better house much faster and much more stable without all the problems of this shitty foundation that I'm trying to build mine on. Like, like that is, and I think it does come from comparison.
Yep.
It is the worst part, I think, about this industry. And you're watching other people and you're like, oh, like, how can I be better? How can I do what they're doing? Or like, they do this better than me, or whatever. Or they've got more viewers, or they're growing faster. It's just constant. I do that a lot. I'm really, really bad for it. Or like, if I've seen a drop, I'm like, has everybody else seen a drop? Is this just me? Like, it's yeah, I struggle with that, but I do, yeah, I do need to stop beating myself up so much, and I think I know that because I think that's why I get so angry though, or frustrated, because I'm just like, I know I could be better if it wasn't for everything else, but unfortunate reality is everything
I
else
was gonna
is
say,
there.
if it wasn't for reality, if my reality was different, I could be better.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating, but that is how life works. But and I know, like, if I do want to do anything, I need to focus on the foundation right now, and that's what I'm trying to put all my energy into. Because if I don't, like, at this point in time, this is such a crazy metaphor, but I'm just like, there's so many cracks in my foundation. I just, yeah, I know I need to focus on all of that before I keep trying to build on top of it. But like, that is, like I said, like, this is streaming is my escape, and I want to put all my focus into that, and I want to do that because it's easier almost to do that than focus on the rest of it.
Oh, it's so much. I mean, sometimes hitting going lives is just anxiety producing. But yeah, there's other times where going on and being like, oh my gosh, I get to focus on other people's problems. I get to focus on everything else that is not myself. I love this. And then you hit end and you're like, oh fuck, I'm stuck with me again. Let's go live again.
Yeah, the amount of times I have clicked end stream and tears come down my face.
Really?
Yeah.
What are those tears from?
It's a multitude of things. Like this has been a thing of the past, like, the last week I've been all right. This is why my dad told me I needed a break. But it was before that. Like, it's just about every stream I was ending my stream, and it was just like a helplessness. Like, it wasn't necessarily sad, but it was just, I just felt helpless. I was like, I think it was the realization that what I was using to distract myself wasn't distracting enough. Like, I would end the stream and I just went, oh, still feel this way. It's still here. I just feel all of this. And I'm just helpless. I don't know how to help myself now. Didn't know what to do. Yeah. I was doing that every stream.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I feel like so many people don't yeah, really talk about the power that stream has to change your emotion. And then when you get to a point of like actually discovering your own feelings, you start to realize that the things you've been using aren't working anymore. It's like your body just telling you, no, you're supposed to be focusing on yourself and not using these other distractions. But you're like, no, I want this distraction. And then you
Yeah.
get the sadness of the other feelings you're feeling. And then you're feeling sad because the thing that you usually use to feel good isn't making you feel good anymore. And it's
Yeah.
like, where are the good feelings?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you just sit and cry because that's all you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
Dude, that I'm so happy you said that. Because
It is weird. Like, I think a lot of people have got their escape, and it's, yeah, when you realize it's not your thing anymore, you're like, what do you do?
yeah,
And
especially when that escape is also your job too. Like it's not inherently your escape. Yeah, video games used to be, but now that stream is my job as well, like, oh my gosh, two birds, one stone, let's go. And then you realize that your escape is also your work. And so now you feel like you're failing at both. And that's horrible. It's
yeah,
such a bad feeling to feel like you're letting not only others down, but yourself down in that way.
yeah, I think that is part of the reason why anytime I hit end live and it overwhelmed me, was almost, there was part of it that I was just disappointed.
Mm.
Like I was just like, oh, that wasn't enough for them. Like,
Wow.
I often would just like go, that just wasn't enough. Like I didn't do enough. Like I don't know. Yeah, just there were some of the times when I did that and I was ending the stream and I feel like feeling this badly. I was just going, ah, that could have been better. They should have got better. And I felt like I almost, yeah, like you said, like disappointing them and me. Like
Yeah.
just,
Dude, thank you for acknowledging that. That is, yeah, that's not easy.
but
That's not easy.
I think most of us have this feeling of not being good enough, like
Yeah.
in this industry, because especially if you're one to compare yourself, but in seeing other people do things, but because it fluctuates so much, when you're on a low, it's impossible to not question whether you're good enough. Like
Yep.
it's just constantly like, oh my god, I'm not, everybody doesn't want to watch me anymore. Like I'm not growing, and it's just I'm not good enough, and I don't know. Like it's the worst feeling.
That's so, yeah. That's so important because, yeah, after 3 years of doing this, we know it has its ups and downs. We know, like, if there's one fact about streaming, it has its ups and downs. And yet still, every single down, we're like, fuck, dude, they hate me.
Yeah,
They shit. I'm shit. I shouldn't do this. I'm going to go bartend again.
Yeah.
Yet it
Every
happens
single down.
every time.
Like you know that, and you know it's gonna pick up at some point. But I think you just think every time it goes down, that is the final. Like you
Yeah.
think every time it goes down, it's like this is the end. It's not gonna pick it back up this time. This is it.
And it always
just,
has.
Yeah, every single time it has. You just it happens. Yeah, I hate that feeling because I think I don't know how bad that is. I don't know if you have much experience of it now with being on other platforms. And how long have you been on other platforms for?
Twitch, I think since about August. Yeah, August.
Because I did wonder how much that was a thing for Facebookers.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we got a really weird kind of outlook and experience when it came to this industry because of the algorithm being so varied and just I do wonder how much that affects other like platforms, like people on Twitch and people on YouTube. Like I wonder if they're just as, like, I guess almost insecure
I
as
mean,
we
yeah.
are.
That's actually really interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know on Twitch it's far more consistent than it ever was on Facebook. Same with Kick, but I think I don't know. I think there's a I think for me, it's just the harshness of how much Facebook varied. Like my first
Yeah.
2 months before I went partner in 2021, I was averaging 250 CCV at like the slowest, and then hit partner in a month later. If I have 60, I'm fucking killing it. And that happened in the span of 3 months. Wasn't changing any content. Everything was normal. So it was like, what the fuck is going on? Like I had no idea. And that was when that was the first lull I ever had in streaming. And it broke me. And still, like it still has never recovered on Facebook. I have 60,000 followers. And yeah, I do multi-stream, but I'll have 20 people max. And it's like, it just doesn't, it starts to get to a point where I'm like, I feel like these companies are purposely saying, fuck you, John. You said too much shit. You get to sit here. Like that's what it feels like, because like in my logical brain, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, I get that 100%. And I do think Facebook is. I compared it the other day. I was like, I said, I don't know if this is insensitive, but I said, Facebook love bombed me.
Yes.
It made me think that I was the best streamer in the world and I grew so quickly, and then it just took it away. And it made me feel like I had nothing.
Love that you just said that. Yes, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. I went from making the most I've ever made in a year and having the most success I've ever had as an entertainer to like, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this. Like, I don't know if this is viable in the span of 6 months.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell us about it. It just happened.
No reasoning. You couldn't figure out
It's the
why.
most toxic ex just gaslighting us with replies of, oh, check your blah, blah, blah. And this is how we do the algorithm. And it's like, I am doing all of those things. No, like, I need a better reason.
I've not changed. I've not done anything different. You've just changed.
I'm the same. It was you.
Yeah. Literally, that's how it feels. It just literally feels like a really, really horribly toxic relationship.
Bro, I feel so validated, and that feels so good in my heart, because that's exactly what it feels like. Love bombed and then tossed to the side and not told why.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have one more question, and feel free if you don't want to answer it, because as someone who's had to cut off their mother 2 years ago, do you care if I ask, like, what did that getting to that cutting process off, or even if you don't even want to talk about that, like, what was that moment of this is enough? Where did you get the confidence to be able to stick up for yourself in that way?
I don't mind answering.
Okay.
It's a very difficult question to have a straight answer for, though.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever. I still don't think I'm confident in my decision.
Really?
Yeah, because I kind of knew enough was enough, because I got nothing out of the relationship.
Yeah.
And it was when I realized that, you know, if I was phoned up, it was either to be abusive, or it was something to do with my dad, or it was something to do with money, or whatever it was. It was never like, hey, how are you? Like, hey, like, what's, like, it was nothing for me. Like, I couldn't phone her up, or it was not a two-way thing.
Yeah.
And that was when it started to kind of click, and I started to be like, this was anybody else, I would never have put up with this. But because it's a parent, you feel you have to.
Yeah. And was this after you started therapy that you were having these realizations, or was it prior to that?
I think I felt that way prior, but the problem I had was my experience was very different to my siblings. And I mean, each of us had a very different experience and views the situation differently. But being the only girl, I definitely got a different experience with my mum, because I don't really know why, but there was a multitude of it. Obviously, she just either saw herself in me, or you know, was somewhat sometimes jealous that I got to be doing what I wanted to do and she didn't, or
yeah.
you know, sometimes she told me that because she had a shit mum, I had to have a shit mum. Just
Oh wow.
like, and then also I'm a daddy's girl through and through,
Yeah.
so sometimes there's a bit of jealousy of like, why do you prefer him? And she was just, unfortunately, like she was just not a secure person.
Yeah.
And then when the alcohol became really bad, that became like she didn't really control it at all. Like it used to obviously come out in arguments or something, or when she was emotional, but when you're drunk, you don't stop to say anything.
No.
And yeah, like the things she would say, the how she made me feel, like the names, the horrible, horrible words. Like you shouldn't hear that from your own mom. Like there was
No.
just so many things. Like I remember I was with my partner at the time, and I'd get a message, and oh, it's just my mum, and he'd read it, and he'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like I was
Yeah.
like, and I just kind of was like, "Yeah, this is what she normally." I just get nasty messages randomly, like
Welcome to
that's
my
just
world. This is mom.
yeah, like it does baffle people, like it should, because it's
Oh
going, why is
yeah.
she just sending you a random nasty message? I'm like, I don't know, I'm not spoke to her. Like, just random. She's just drunk and she's felt like she needed to say something. So I'll just get, or even it's happened when I've been live, my phone goes and it's, you know, a nasty message. And I'm just like, here we go. Like, I can't, you know, you are affecting every day. Like, I got to the
Yeah.
point where when my phone went, I was worried. I was scared to check it in case it was on a nasty message from mum. Like I got
Yep.
to the point where I was scared to check my phone.
Just in
Um,
general, not even if she
yeah,
had a special tone, just in general, check your phone.
just yeah, in general. Like if I saw a message and
Wow.
I was like, oh, please don't be from mum right now. And it started impacting every single day. Like, and then that was when I realized I'm going, no, like I can't have this impacting every day. I was like,
Yeah.
not only are the words impacting me in general, like my day to day is just like worried that I'm gonna get something from you, like here, whatever. Like sometimes, like, a couple of times, she turned up at my door.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like drunk, turned up at my door. So like I couldn't even. I was just constantly concerned that like I'm sitting on stream and she's turning up, and I'm like, what are you doing? Um, yeah, it came to a point where literally every single day I was negatively impacted by her presence in my life.
Yeah.
And that was before the therapy situation. But because I had such a different experience to my siblings, and she was still an active part of my family, my close family, I was like, how am I going to cut you out? How do I turn up to dinner? How do I come home? How do I be a part of Christmas? How do I go to birthdays? Like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, like things started to develop in the situation. So once everybody else started cutting her out a little bit, um, I got more confident to make my own decision. But then
Nice.
I went to therapy and I started talking about it and saying out loud the story and the truth, and you kind of hear it, and you're going,
Oh yeah.
"Oh my god!" You just that was it. I just realized. I just went, wow, that's. And when people started asking me about it, I would be like, I don't know. There's something about this. I always felt like if it was a dad, it would be easier. There's something
Hmm.
about your mum that everybody like. So many times I would talk about like not wanting my mum in my life, and people would be like, "But it's your mum. Like your
Dude,
mum
every
brought you into
single
the
time.
world. Like it's just." And I'm going, and I used that made me question if I was right all the
Yeah.
time. Um, and then yeah, it was after like once I started figuring it out and went to therapy, and she just, as she does, um just validated everything I said and
Yeah.
how I felt. And she was like, yeah, but what do you owe her? And I'm going, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, I don't know what I owe her. That's a good question. Like, why do, like, she's like, why do you feel like you owe her anything? And I'm going, does everybody say you do? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
Other people telling me?
yeah, like, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I don't actually feel like I owe her anything. I'm more worried about other people being like, you cut your mum out? Like, what? That's your mum. Like, why do you not touch your, like, shouldn't you look after your mum and all this stuff? And it's like, I don't even feel this way. This is other people's opinions, like, that I'm worried about. So once I realized that, I was like, no, I need to do this for me. But even at that, it's still not simple.
Oh no.
She's still around and she still like contacts me and stuff. Not as much.
Yeah.
And people around keep trying to be like, you need to help her get better. And I'm going, no, she needs to help herself. Like, I tried for 2 years to help her. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I need to help myself get better. Like, none of you are caring about me and getting
Yeah,
better.
right?
So I was like, no. But then when my friend's dad passed away, I just freaked. I was like, because I have this thought quite a lot, but I was freaked and was like, oh my God, am I making the right choice?
Yeah.
Am I going to regret this? What if she goes? Like, am I going to, you know, will I regret that for life? Should I be giving her more chances? Like, should I be trying my hardest to keep her around? Like, I don't know. I do that all the time, like, quite often. That'll come up where I'm just like questioning. I'm going, no, like, because I want a mum.
Yeah.
Of course
We
I
all
do.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that I don't want her. I do. I want my mum. And especially when I go through this, I want my mum. I going through a breakup, I want my mum. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm struggling with work, I want my mum. Like, there's a thing with a friend, I want my mum. Like, everybody has that longing for that, like, your mum in that situation. Of course I want her there.
Yeah.
This isn't a choice, but she is not my mum at
Yeah.
this point. Like, that is the problem.
Yeah.
And it's simple as that. Like, I would love to have a mum and my mum to be there, but it's not. She isn't one. Like, that's
Yeah.
the simple fact. Like, in her current state, she is not fit to be a mum. So
Yeah.
I can't expect that of her, and I can't ask that of her. And because of that, I I don't need to be in it, and that's, you know. But yeah, like, obviously that is still there, like, all the time. Going, I still want her. Like, I do remember when she wasn't always like this, and I do remember that person, and
Yeah.
um and I long for a mother figure, like, all the time,
Yeah.
especially because I just don't have any older female, like, anything.
Yeah.
I have nothing. I proper long for a mum of some sort.
Yeah.
So that's always there, that missing piece, I guess. There's like a little hole there that's just not ever, I can't really
It's not
fill
mendable.
without, yeah, like, that's always there. And I always wonder if I'm ever going to feel guilty. Like, I don't know how you ever know. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
like,
such the tough part. Like, you don't know until you find out the information
yeah,
that you can't
yeah,
talk or whatever again. That's
yeah.
so, yeah.
And it's one of the hardest things to do, because I think also, I think a lot of the time I just wonder, and I think this causes a lot of pain for me, because I'm going, the one person that's meant to love you unconditionally is meant to be your mom.
Yeah.
Um, and the one person that's, you see all the time, and most people are going about and like, my mom's my best friend, and I love my mom. And when obviously, like, Mother's Day comes around, and you're just like, oh, like, I love my mom, she's my rock, she's my world. And I'm just like, oh my God, I really want that.
Yeah.
I just really want that, and it'd be great. But yeah, it's just the reality of the situation. I think I'd welcome her back in and with open arms if she ever got better.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, I know I can't be subject to the abuse. I cannot do it. For me, I
Yeah.
cannot cope. I just need me to be better, because I also want to, you know, move on with my life and build relationships with people, and I can't do that because she was holding me back in a lot of ways, and I'm going, I need to do this for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much I remember I've seen you tweet about stuff, but
yeah.
I don't know what your experience when it comes to like parents not being perfect parents or even supportive.
Yeah. I mean, it's trickier. Well, I don't want to say trickier. It's just different because it was just my mom and myself growing up. And then long story short, her and my dad ended up getting pregnant my mom got pregnant with me. And then at 6 months, he deuced to go back to another family that he was going to get a divorce from. But that mother was alcoholic. And so my mom was like, dude, ain't no way you're sharing parental rights. So he gave those up. I was raised with just her. And then actually when I turned 21 the summer before my junior year of college, long story short, he ended up actually getting the divorce finally 21 years later. They ended up starting dating, got married, and then of course ended up getting divorced last year because my mom is crazy. But so yeah, I had very, I would say similar things. She was, I guess, wasn't as unpromptly rude as I guess your anecdote would paint your mom. Mine was, it's when I was in a relationship and that relationship was threatening her because she was the most important woman in my life. And this was the first time where she wasn't, and she had to quote unquote compete with attention from someone else. And despite the fact that she had said, oh no, I can't wait for you to go out on your own, blah, 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 it was very clear that those boundaries were not being respected. She, did a bunch of other stuff that just made me not trust her. And then finally I was getting into therapy. It's amazing what happens when you get into therapy and realize how unboundaried I was. And when I finally started to enact boundaries, they were constantly betrayed. When I tried to follow up and reinforce those boundaries, I too received many 15-minute voicemails of rude stories and all the types of things that you shouldn't hear from your mother, but you end up hearing it anyway. And I got to the same point of view of like, I'm not willing to have this person in my life. I want a mother. This is not a nurturing, healthy relationship that's making me better in my day to day. This is something that's making me exactly angsty and anxious and feeling like this isn't what I want this to be. And so, I finally got to the point of, I don't want to talk to you. And so I'll message her happy birthday, but otherwise we haven't really talked in like 2 years. And it's wild that you've had that scenario and brought up the kind of will you regret it or not, because that's something that, as I now have a good relationship with my dad, which is interesting, but he's older and I know he's going to be passing in the near future or whatever. And like a part of me in thinking of my mom is like, I don't know if I'm going to be sad. Like as fucked as it sounds, like I'm to the point of where I feel like I've already mourned that relationship to an extent, and I'm unwilling to have someone in my life, whether you birthed me, whatever the fuck we've been through. Like if you're not willing to respect me and my boundaries and how I choose to live my life, then you respectfully don't get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So I've thought about reaching out, but again, I'm at that point. I don't know where you are in terms of like, I can't trust her. Even if she were to say, no, everything's different, I trust, like I have zero support for anything that would allow me to pursue that relationship again. And so it's just, I crave that motherly figure. Like I was almost in tears, you mentioning that, like, I just want my mom. Like it's something so simple, but something so literally impossible that it's like, you can't go back. Even if we were to gain a relationship again, I can damn near guarantee it wouldn't be that motherly relationship. It wouldn't be that same amount of closeness that you would experience with your mom. It would be like, oh, you're my friend that I'm keeping at a distance, but just because you're my mom. And that's why I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to feel, I don't want the opportunity to be disappointed by you again. That's happened enough. So it's like, yeah, one of those like shitty, it is what it is. And just accepting that I have amazing friendships and I have so many other people that I can have that emotional connect with, which, yeah, none of those will ever be the same relationship as my mother, but I'm able to at least get the closeness, the love, the care from those that I have chosen to put in my life, those that have chosen to respect those boundaries. That I don't know, like, what am I missing? You know, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like if reality stays reality,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not missing much. Like, I'm only missing on disappointment. I'm only missing out on sadness. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
how it is now, you know, that it's not what you would want and you're missing out on nothing. But you just have this longing for what could be.
Yeah.
If things are different.
Yeah. But what that could be is not even, it can't be. That's the hard part.
Sure. It's not
even a could, it's a can't. And you're just like, well, awesome.
So I think that's what I struggle with, is like longing for this thing that doesn't even exist anymore. Like it can't happen.
Yeah.
But it's like almost kind of gaslighting myself. Like it's going, no, like it's still your mom. Like she's still here.
I'll also give you credit, not to dismiss your feelings, but if this happened all within the last year, like mine has been a slow burn for the last 4 years, like 4.5, I would say, is when I really started enacting boundaries, and then getting to the point of like, oh no, let's not talk for a bit. And then to the final point of like, we're not talking at all. So yeah, I think I definitely, I was where you're at. And I mean, not to say that even you'll get to the point of full comfortability. Like that's, again, everyone is so different, and that dynamic, that relationship is going to be dependent on, again, what you guys had and what that reality feels like for you. But it's so normal. It's so normal to feel that. And that's, I mean, it's not going to go away. It might lessen to an extent, but I think as you, or at least I can speak for myself, as I continued to honor those boundaries and honor those feelings, it became easier to not be as upset with the fact that she wasn't present. Because again, I knew what I would be availing myself to if I did let her in, given the reality that she hasn't changed. So it's like getting stuck on a reality that you know can't happen, as opposed to the uncomfortable acceptance of the reality that is. And that's what I would say is like the main journey of all of that. Is like, even if it's not cutting off family, cutting off just loved ones, like best friends, it's no different. Like you can always yearn for what that relationship could have been or could be. But then you realize that, that it's not a could be, it's a can't be. Like it's not, you're wishing for something that is impossible.
Yeah. Like just because you see the potential in that person, like doesn't mean that's who they are. Like,
Oh, that's beautiful, dude.
And that's what is so hard, because I still see it. Like I still am like, you know, I see how my mom could be like, you can still do this, and it's like I'm like, you can still do this, but she's not doing that. Like she's not sitting there going, I really want to be better to be a better mom. Like she's not doing that.
No.
So I know this is just me, like, you know, I guess it's just being like, you're better than this. Like you have so much potential. Like this could be so much better, but yeah, it's not how it is. And I think I was quite interested when you said that if she was gone, you weren't sure if you'd even be sad.
Yeah.
Because I felt that way, and a few times I felt so guilty.
Really? I have too. I felt so fucking guilty.
Yeah, it's like, how
so guilty.
Sad. Like,
but then I'm like, as bad as it sounds, I think I've gone from the point of I don't know when I'll talk to her next, to I don't know if we'll ever talk again, to I don't want to talk to her again. And then I think that kind of just led to, well, if that's my reality, I mean, with all due respect, the reality will be that when she passes, that is the most finite it can be of we're not talking again. But that's also, I think, over the past a few years what I've just worked to. So it's like, and I'm also more a person who processes things in the moment. So I can guarantee you that if I got a text that's like she passed, I would lose my fucking shit. I can guarantee it. But there is that part of me that has, I think, processed the relationship. And so it's more
You've, like,
so
grieved for someone who's alive.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like that's what it is. I've already grieved my relationship with my mom. It will only be the grieving of her existence on this earth that would be next.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to be as powerful because I already have grieved that connection with my mom. And
yeah, that's the thing with grief, though. It's a loss.
Yeah.
Like, if you've lost it already, then yeah, like, you
what's there to lose again? Yeah, I think that it'll probably just go back to the overthinking of, similar to what you were thinking, could I change her? Could I have helped? Could I have been the person that, if I did send her money in this instance, would that have changed her? Or if I did pick up the call in this instance, would that have made the difference? And it's like, no, in reality, it wouldn't. That one thing would not change the entirety. Like that, there has to be that change from that person in a significant way for a significant amount of time.
Yeah. It's
to
not
get
even,
the proof.
like, it's not on anybody else. It's
Yeah.
just on them to do it.
Yeah.
We can't do anything for someone else. They have to want to change, and they have to do the work, and they have to do it. And even at that, it doesn't mean it even works.
Yeah. Exactly. It doesn't mean it's even going to change anything.
Yeah. It's because I think that's what I've been, like, the last year or so. I feel like, because it's been a build up before that, but I think the last year or so, I feel like I've been grieving for someone who isn't alive, and that's how I've explained it to people who didn't understand. Like, my boyfriend at the time, I was trying to explain so hard. I'm like, I'm, like, grieving this, even though, like, she's still here. Like, I was trying so hard to explain my feelings, because I'm going, he just wasn't getting it, and I'm going, no, like, he's like, but why are you upset if she's so, like, horrible to you? I'm going, like, if you no, like, why are you so upset about losing her if she's so horrible to you, or whatever? And I'm just going, because there's still, like, a loss. Like, I'm still, like, grieving it.
Yeah.
But, like, it's still, like, I don't know. It feels like when I was trying to grieve it, all of a sudden she wasn't this bad person.
That's always how it happens.
Yeah, like, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, like, this lovely memory, and there was this, and she did this, and she was this, and that was what I was grieving. Obviously, when you're grieving something, it's same with a relationship. You're not grieving the bad parts. You're thinking about all the good parts.
Oh yeah.
All the good things, and that's what you're thinking about and you're sad about. And then when you do that, but that person's still alive, then you're like, you think that the good parts are what's still there, and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, that's all so good in your head, and it's going, then you open yourself back up, and you're like, okay, and then they do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
They do the exact reason why you left in the first place, and then you're back and you do the exact, and I feel like I was doing that cycle, and it'll get to a point where, like, you do that enough to learn your lesson, and then you just stop. And I think that's kind of, it's the same as, like, toxic relationship with anything. Like, you keep repeating it until you finally learn your lesson, that that's not going to change. That's still going to keep hurting you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like, I've definitely got to a point where I'm so close to being at that point where I'm like, I don't want to talk to you again, because I am, like, I close to it, and I ignore phone calls, and I don't make any effort and whatever.
Yeah.
But I still am, like, not fully confident and comfortable with it, with my situation.
Yeah.
So I'm, like, close, and I know that, and I think it's going to take, like, something else, that one or two maybe, that are just going to kind of put the final nail in the coffin, I guess. I think that's where I'm at with it.
Are you saying it's time, or two more events of sort of betrayal, if you will?
I think, like, I think it's I know that it's time, and I know in my head,
Yeah.
right? And I can tell, and I can talk it over and over, and it doesn't matter who asks me. I know in my head, but my heart keeps going, but what if?
Yeah.
And then it keeps doing that, and it's still, and it needs to get to the point, and that stops. And I think you do, like, unfortunately need to break your heart enough so that it doesn't think it's okay. Like, so I think it will take like just another betrayal where my heart just doesn't have any what ifs left.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like your mind is waiting for every possible scenario to play out that could be better. And then once all those scenarios play out, then you can say, I'm good.
Yeah. Because I think if I was honest with myself and strong enough, there wouldn't be any of that what if, right? Like, I know, I know what the reality of the situation is, but
and I would take that back and say you are plenty strong. Plenty fucking strong. I truly do not think it has anything to do with strength. I think it's your mom. Like, that's, for the most part, I feel, even for people, I don't know if you ever had a close or good relationship with her. I don't know if it was always more negative in that way, but still, like, that's your mom at the end of the day, man. So that I completely understand how there would be that holdout. There would be that hope that, like, maybe she'll realize, maybe she'll click and realize, like, I'm her fucking daughter, or something will happen. Yeah. So yeah, dude, I think you're plenty strong. I just think you might not be giving yourself enough credit for how difficult it is to do what you're trying to do.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Like, it is. I mean, there's no easy way of walking away from something, is there?
No.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Dude, people will stay in abusive relationships, and you can be like, dude, why the fuck are you leaving? And they can name you every fucking reason why they're not, or why they should leave, but they're still there.
But they still don't do it.
Yeah.
You have to, sometimes you have to get to a point where you cannot physically go back. Like, until there's no decision to make. I think the decision is the problem. You have to get to a point where you don't have a decision to make. That's it.
That's genius. The fact that there's a decision to make is making you choose the easier decision. Yeah. That's wild.
I do have a question, though. Do you think any of this situation makes you question, like, I don't know where you're at with having kids. Like, do you want kids? Like, does this make you question about having kids? Do you ever do that?
That's very interesting. So I thought I wanted kids. Because I did grow up without a dad, my whole ambition was to be the best father I could ever be. And then when I started dating or my ex, Abby, I feel like I don't even call her my ex. I just say her first name and everyone knows. Anyway, when I dated my ex we were only together 2 months, but she's like the love of my life, the most amazing human being on earth. And I had my dog at the time, Nugget, that I was taking, I adopted her, but it ended up just being a long ass foster. I ended up rehoming her in January. But either way, I realized how stressed and anxious I was just taking care of that dog. Yeah. That I don't know. Like, it's interesting. I know I'm not at a place of financial security that I would want to be if I were to be a parent. Like, finances stress me out more than probably anything in the entire world. I bet most people are like that as well. Yeah. So I think if I had, and then that leads me to the point of, I don't know. Maybe I've always loved the idea of a human or two little humans that were similar to me, that wanted to do jujitsu and all the things. But then I realized, oh shit, no, kids turn out to be individuals. And like, if my kid liked baseball at that point, like, I can't put it up for adoption. I have to love it somehow. So I'm at the point where I am open to kids in the future. I just know that John right now is not in the space to father or parent kids. Yeah. Granted, kids always end up coming up to me, and my therapist even makes the joke of like, you are going to try and stay away from kids, but they're always going to find you. And that's always what ends up happening. So it's like, I don't know. I'm open to it. We'll see what the future holds, though. Like my relationship with my mom hasn't changed. I guess I can address that part. Like the dynamics of my relationship with my mom hasn't made me, hasn't affected my thoughts on kids, but it's definitely made me realize the type of parent I want to be and don't want to be, and how I would potentially want to parent. What about you? Has it made you second guess or unguess or re-guess, or where are you at for that? And you're also 25, so you also could have an answer of like, I don't want kids for the longest time.
Yeah, but I think like when I was younger, I was like so certain that I was gonna have kids really young and get married really quick, like young, and that was like I'm gonna do that.
Is that also a Scottish thing? Do you guys? I don't know if you guys. Is it? Because I know certain places here, it's like get married young, have kids, do your family. Is that common over there, or is it 50-50?
I would actually, it's probably fairly common.
I guess
I would say 50-50. Like there's like there's 50% of people who are having kids at like 19, 20, 21, getting married, whatever. And then the other side of us are like partying, and I mean sometimes the baby came from the party, but anyways, like other side of us is just being more safe, I guess, and just making sure we're not doing that. But yeah, like I think my Facebook's just people, babies, marriage, and I'm going, that's been like that for 5 years. Like for
that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's pretty common here it's not frowned upon at all to have a baby at 19 or anything. Like people do it a lot.
Holy hell.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I don't think I could do it like at this age. I don't think I'd be anywhere close to being ready to be a mum. But yeah, like I used to think that's what I was going to do, and then I got to like more of an aware age of like the reality of being an 18, 19-year-old and imagine having a baby. I was like, no, I just absolutely not. But I got close. Then I started just going the other way, where I'm like, I don't want babies. I don't want to do it. I don't know. But
and where did that come from? Was
that's the thing.
Yeah.
People ask me where it comes from, and I was like, it comes from a multitude of places. Like I feel like I was always worried. I think because it was my mum that did it, and she always told me like, "Oh, I had a shit mum. You have to have a shit mum." Part of me was like, did the whole, I want to. If I ever had a baby, I'd be the best mum ever.
Yeah.
Like whatever, I would make sure. But then it became a place of being, I wouldn't ever want to be like her. Like I don't want to do that to my child. Like I don't want to end up being that way. Like I'm too scared that comes out of me. Like that's what I end up being. I'm scared that I am her when it comes to being a mom. Like I don't know. Like I've now I know that I'm not stable enough or any way, shape or form when it comes to any of that to be a good mum. So I just don't think I'd be able to do it because I do that. I think it comes from her. Like I feel like I'm really uncertain now that I'm like, oh, is this ingrained in me? Like, am I going to end up being like her? Like, how do you know that that's not, I don't know.
That is really interesting. Do you have any anecdotes from people on how she was before she became a mom?
Well, she became a mom very, very young.
Okay.
So she was 18.
Okay.
When she had my older brother. But yeah, like there's not really much you do before that. Like she had her party phases, and she's always been a smoker, and like she was just like thought she was maybe the popular girl in the groups and like kind of thing. Like she was, there wasn't anything how do you judge someone at that age about how good they're going to be as a mom? So
I mean, you could tell by like your personality. I don't know, like how. I mean, I would think so. Like that's why I was just going to give you credit. Just the fact that you're even having I feel like just having the awareness and the wherewithal to be like, will I be a good mother? I'm so concerned about these other things in the ways that my mother messed me up or did X, Y, or Z that I don't agree with. I think having that awareness is proof enough that you would be at a point where you could start being a mom. Now, the main thing that most of the parents say whenever we start talking about kids, at least the parents in chat, are like, you're never ready to be a parent. There's no point. But having just the awareness that you don't want to mess up your kids, that you want to be kind, you don't want to just randomly insult them X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Like that is such a good place to start. And then also the fact that you're into therapy. So you're working on your triggers. You're working on the things that
get rid of those family wounds.
Exactly. The trauma ends here. Yeah.
No, 100%.
So like, as long as you're aware of those things, I feel like it would, and continuing to work on yourself. Like that's one of the things that I think that so many parents might not do is they do the thing where they abandon themselves and give it all to their kid when really they need to be doing some work on themselves. Obviously they're still going to be able to love the kid, but you gotta
love yourself first.
Your kid is not going to make you feel love. You need to love yourself, and then your kid will love you, and then everyone will have a healthy relationship. But if you make your need for love like your child's responsibility, which is kind of what I was in charge of, then that puts such an unfair pressure on the kid and leads to so much lack of security.
Yeah, the kid becomes a parent sometimes, don't they?
Yeah. You become you become an appendage of your parent. Like that's one of the things I can count on one hand the amount of times my mother introduced herself as herself. It was always John's mom. Always in connection to me. No sense of independence of her own self. So that's like, you really need to, at least if you're not at a place where you feel comfortable with yourself, you need to be fucking working hard on it. Because I mean, parenthood will bring that up to you. Don't even get me started on the fact that like your partner also has to be doing the shit so that one person is not just taking it all on. Like it's so much people. There need to be tests before people have kids.
Yeah. Like, can people just start dealing with that first? Because you are passing it down. Like if I turned around to my parents now, I'd be like, you are the reason I'm fucked up. You know that?
Yeah. 1,000,000%. And they would be like, oh, well, I'm fucked up because your grandpa was fucked up. And it's like, no. I'm talking to you.
Has to do it.
Take accountability for your actions, old person.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't know if I'd ever want to be a mom still. Like, the responsibility is crazy. Like, I don't know. But then, I think that's one of those things. I'm like, well, I think I'm missing out. I don't know. But definitely I'm like, at this point in time, it's not really on my agenda.
I was like, missing out on what?
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. Like, well, I look at people with kids and I'm like, that doesn't look fun.
Thank you. Same. Like in the same breath can be like, oh, that's adorable. And if that were me, I would fucking die. Like, absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Just like, I love having a dog. My kid, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look at kids and I'm like, no. I like being able to hand it back.
Thank you. To hand it back, or even with a dog or a cat, something you can legally put in a cage for a few hours and go and do your thing.
Yeah.
It's just not allowed to put your kids in cages, which is so stupid. It's like, what if they're quiet? It's fine. He didn't cry.
He was sleeping. You basically do put them in a cage. Your cot is their cage. They're like,
exactly. Their cradle's the cage without a top.
Yeah.
You just hope they can't climb.
Well, they shouldn't be able to. If you have a demon child.
In case anyone's wondering why I'm not having children, listen to the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. I'm like, that was incredible. I thank you so much for everything you shared. That was
thank you for
amazing.
Inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. We're gonna have to have a follow-up because I'm curious in a few months, however long it is, how therapy's going and what your relationship with stream is, because I'm that's probably the thing I'm most curious about, is when, if ever, you will feel like that optimal stream self.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm questioning for my own reality if that's possible or if that even exists. So that's why I'm like, if you get there, write a book and tell me, because I want to know.
Well, that's that's very true. Like, I feel, how can you can't even be optimal every single day.
Exactly.
So I don't really know. I don't know where it's gonna go, but yeah, I think it's just a case of hopefully.
It's a case of hopefully.
Hopefully, but like right now, I feel like I'm okay 30% of the time. But
I love
if we
that.
could get that to 70%, then
Okay.
I would be better.
That is beautiful. I love that. And is there anything that you're most excited about that you want to share? Where can everyone go and follow you? Where are you live? What are your schedules? This is your time. Self-promo, all the things. Go.
Well, to start with, if anybody's near Birmingham in United Kingdom, I'll be there this weekend at Insomnia Gaming Festival. So if you want to come and say hi.
Nice. Well, shit, I don't think I'll have this
this
edited by that time, but
no, probably not. For anybody who's listening right now,
in a few weeks.
But yeah, well, I'm hosting at that, so that's gonna be.
What?
Just a little bit, not a big bit. But yeah, I'm just my first little hosting gig. So I'm excited.
Nice.
So hopefully that goes well. But that's something I'm hoping to continue. If that goes well, that's one of the things that I start doing, because I would like to expand a little bit from streaming.
I love that.
And do more events and stuff. That'd be fun. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And then yeah, you can. Oh God, you've asked me at the wrong time about where I stream to.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, people need to find you.
Well, at this point in time, I'm on Facebook, Kick, and if that's still alive in a month.
Yeah, hopefully. I pray.
And, I'll say Twitch because, I hope to be doing a bit more on there at some point. And then if all else fails, I'll definitely be on Twitter. So
hell yes.
Find me there.
Are you the Real Slim Jadey on just about everything? Or no, because you're TheRealSlimJadey on Twitter.
Someone stole the Real Slim Jadey. So I'm TheRealSlimJadey instead of is a T on most platforms. But then obviously I'd managed to get my name on Kick. So I'm the Real Slim Jadey on Kick.
Okay, I'm just going to end up DMing you and get all your tags and put it in the video.
That's fine. We'll get that bit sorted.
Beautiful. Anything else you got? What else we got? We good?
I think so.
Dude.
I think that sounds like
I love it.
A good summary.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. This has been truly so amazing. So thank you for taking the time. I did not anticipate to go damn near 2.5 hours. So that
apologies.
No, like I honestly want it to potentially go this long. I want it to be, if it's 30 minutes, great. If it's 3 hours, incredible. As long as we're just interested to keep talking, then fucking send it. So
yeah,
dude,
I mean, I can talk for like 12, I can't stop sometimes. You have to.
We do it for a living. We found a way to be paid for it.
That is very true.
Dude.
Yeah, but I love a deep conversation, so thank you.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk again, and enjoy the rest of your night and week, and good luck hosting, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll catch you in a bit.
Sounds good.
And are you staying on?
I am.
You
Yes.
are?
Yes.
If anybody's in my
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, bye.
Bye.